Hello and welcome to, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the 100th episode of the SuperShow Podcast. And
I feel like we needed a drum roll or something there.
Well, you've just fucked it because I was going to introduce you, but whatever. There's Alex Jones and Jamie with the... I can't believe I'm saying this. We're all looking so dapper. Jamie is not wearing a hoodie for maybe the first time since he came out of his mother's...
Oh.
You know...
That
place.
thing I came out of. I thought we were going the other direction there for a second. Okay,
wow.
The doctor just held a hoodie and he slid in.
I admire all of us for dressing up a little bit with our sort of suit jacket attire, although I did make the observation before we started recording that as a result of our choice of dress code, we do all now look like esports commentators.
Yes, we do. Trying to be all trendy because none of us are wearing shirts. I'm wearing the tuxedo, the burgundy and the shiny lapels.
Honestly,
Jamie's rocking the Scarface.
If I spoke Portuguese and liked Counter-Strike, I'd have 150,000 people watching me on Twitch right now.
Wow. There we go. Hey, Valorant Grand Finals are on. I will watch some of that today. So there's a Brazilian presence there. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And then we come to Alex Jones, who, I mean, you know,
I went
every family has one, right?
I thought I'd go a bit of a crossover, a bit Christmas and a bit dressed up.
I do like it. I also like how it's kind of like bunching up, like over your.
It's the way I'm sitting.
But yeah,
there we go.
I remember that. I remember that jacket, Jonesy. We got it when we were doing the ATG Super Show.
Yeah, we did. I feel like we're all a little bit, maybe not me as much, but I feel like you guys are both a little bit Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, do you know what? The t-shirt and jacket combo.
I mean, I did rock out my shiny shoes for this. Not that I'm going to show you because some people have like toe fetishes and shit, and it's just not going to happen.
We don't want to get entries on Wiki Feet just yet.
Just yet.
Wiki Feet. What?
Yeah, Wiki Feet.
Hold on. You're going to send Jonesy down a rabbit hole.
Hang on. No, I was on James' computer the other day and wikifeet.com/Pokimane was bookmarked, bro. Like,
Pokimane.
I'm glad that's not one of the things we're going to talk about later.
I think that is one of the things we need. You've just reminded me. We need to add that. Anyway, yes, it is our 100th episode and it still defies explanation, defies our belief. It shook me to the core, fellas, but here we are. And here you are, either in front of a computer watching us on YouTube or listening through Spotify, iTunes, or Google Podcasts. Or maybe, you just want to interact with us on Twitter at SuperShowPod. Who knows? Any of these things are possible. We are also available on Paisley Radio, but, slightly delayed just by a week. But that's paisleyradio.com, Thursdays at 10 p.m., so you can relive the magic almost live, like live asterisks, if you will, right?
Faux live.
Yeah, faux, sure.
Quasi-live. Semi-live.
I like it.
Right, yeah, and much like last week, I am, fuck it, man, I'm proud to say that this episode is sponsored, fellas. That's right, we haven't chased them away yet, so we either must be doing something right or maybe we're just ignoring our emails. I don't know, but it's kind of working. And our sponsor for this episode is manscaped.com. And we'll talk about them a little bit later, but you can get 20% off and free shipping if you use the code SuperShow at manscaped.com. It obviously helps the show, helps things tick along, and you get some, nicely shaved balls out of the deal.
Yeah.
Helps your partner.
Yeah, or not.
I feel like the only thing they really mentioned in their communication thus far was less emphasis on scrotum scarring, and I feel like it's kind of like week 2 feedback goes when it comes to our relationships with clients over the past handful of years. That's about the best feedback we've ever had.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you, Manscaped, for sponsoring this episode. We really do appreciate you. And hey, if you're one of the listeners that have taken the plunge with that code, we thank you equally, if not more. All right, fellas. So look, it's a monumental one. Okay, it's 100 fucking episodes. We had to do something different. Like, even if it's just like a fucking a little bit different, it couldn't have just been like, hey, here's the fucking news for the week. And in fact, there's no fucking news for this week. We're not going to cover it. We didn't even bother looking at it, even though we know the news because we, constantly keep up to date. Except for Jonesy, before we start recording, we have to give him the crib note. But it's fine. It's fine.
What?
Exactly. Before we jump in, fellas, I think I'd like to raise a toast. Of course, it had to be Monster Pacific Punch for me.
Actually, yeah, let's toast. I've got a Red Bull, which is slightly less trademarky.
Red Bull Tropical, that's good. And
Pepsi Max Cherry, keeping it just,
This way we
nice
hedge our
simple.
bets, right? We apply, 3 different companies were kind of throwing the net out to and were saying, hey, Manscaped have got in there. You could be next.
Yeah, look, we've got the balls covered. Now we need the throat lubricated, please.
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness gracious. I don't want to know what comes next.
And fellas, it gets even better, all right? Because we're going suave on this shit. Look at this.
Wow.
Look at that.
That is so fancy.
Hold on. Let's get some ASMR.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Let's fucking... let's fill it.
Look
Let's
at
fill
it.
it.
Look at the colour of it.
It reminds me of when... what is it like? Tropicana make orange juice, but they also make that like blood orange juice that's from grapefruit.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
fucking rank. And I always think it's orange juice, and so I sip it. And I'm like, this is not what I bargained.
It's like San Pellegrino blood orange. Nice.
Nah, too sophisticated.
That bouquet, fellas.
That colour
so
reminds
good.
me of grapefruit, which is disgusting.
I'd say it's like between grapefruit and guava. But fellas, it's gonna cheers you all there. Go
Cheers.
on, do it. Don't leave me
Cheers to
hanging.
100.
There we go.
Cheers to 100. Wow, we
and,
made it.
and cheers to all of you listening. Really do fucking appreciate it. I'm just gonna take a swig of this because I've been waiting for this all day. Baby.
Yeah.
It's been waiting in that fridge. It's been hell yeah.
Do you know what
kind
I've
of-
got open on another tab now?
What do you have to open?
Wiki Feet. No, I've got it open on another tab. I just thought
I mean,
I'd share
again,
that
you had it bookmarked. Don't
Yeah,
pretend
you just
didn't.
click on you just open the tab that was open already.
Exactly.
and I despair. But yeah.
In fact, Jonesy, you had to close that window to start recording. Now you're just reopening it. If you do
All
the
right,
drop
guys.
down, it's in recently closed tabs.
Yeah. I was going to say along with some other things, but I'm not going to delve into it. Can I just say, party up top, right?
Yeah.
Loungewear down bottom. I got some new trousers that are lined with fur on the inside. They're like joggers, and, with fur on the inside.
Oh, wow. That sounds luxurious.
Tickles my freshly shaved balls, but also keeping me nice and toasty and warm in this very cold fucking weather, which I am absolutely hating.
Yeah.
How'd you guys
Yeah,
do
it's
it?
been brutal.
I don't know. It has taken a real turn for the worse just in the last week or so. And I know that's very boring of us as British podcasters to come on here and complain about weather and the cold. But caught me off guard. I can't lie.
Well, and if it catches Jamie off guard, I mean, he's got, padding.
So much natural insulation. I'm the human form of double glazing.
I feel like our weather is weird over here as well because people think that the UK is like really cold and it's like miserable, but it doesn't usually get that cold. Like it's kind of miserable a lot of the time, and it's kind of it hovers around like low temperatures. It doesn't ever get that warm. It doesn't get that cold. It's just kind of okay most of the time. But so when it does drop below zero, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
You feel it.
You
You
feel
feel
it.
it. Yeah. Yeah, I got some friends that have immigrated to Canada, Toronto specifically in the one case, and he was telling me, oh yeah, it's cold. I was like, what's the coldest you've experienced? He's like, well, if you're looking at Celsius, yeah, probably like minus 15. I was like, shut the fuck up and get out of here.
That
This
is
is ridiculous. Mental.
Yeah.
Whereas we get like max, it'll be like -3, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it will happen every now and then, and everyone will wake up, and later that day they'll go, it was freezing this morning. And everyone will be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Cars were frosted over, yeah.
Well, you know what I did today? I had to fucking defrost my windshield before I took my son to nursery. Anyway.
Me too.
Let's carry on, shall we? Fellas, because it's a special occasion, we obviously have to, it's about the Super Show. And Super Show is nothing without fans, right? And
Absolutely.
one such fan is Peter Wilson. Some might say an Uber fan or an Only fan, maybe. I don't know, the nomenclature here, but there we go. Peter Wilson. And he left a comment, which you can do too if you want to be featured on the comment of the week. This is not, we didn't really want to do comment of the week because how'd you kind of like, we don't want to like up anyone over anyone else, but Peter Wilson did have a very nice thing to say. Okay. So he said, I subscribed to you when you gave out the link in the last ATG stream. Okay. If you remember that was like, what, 2 years
100
ago?
episodes ago.
Well, kind of.
Almost.
There was a little bit of overlap, but yeah. Just didn't watch anything for nearly 2 years. So while I say he's a fan, clearly not that big of a fan because he's like, fuck you guys for 2 years. But hey, he's here now, and that's why he's an Only fan. Now, in the last 3 weeks, I have watched all the episodes. seen you be frustrated that Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed again, and then be frustrated over bugs and glitches of Cyberpunk 2077. However, my favorite moment of the episode was when Jamie acted out what most internet arguments boil down to. And he's given us an example, just in case you're wondering what most internet arguments do boil down to. He asked a question, and when Jonesy started to answer, interrupted with, "I don't care."
Yeah,
So,
that sounds pretty on brand, I can't lie.
you know,
Yeah.
if someone's not coming at something from your fucking perspective, then fuck them, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Like, there's that expression, in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
I prefer the expression nothing in any ear. I do a lot of talking, zero listening, and life is a lot more peaceful this way.
I have come to understand this.
I used to get that a lot when I was a kid.
Cloth ear.
Cloth-eared. It's like
because they do the thing like
Wow. Okay. And finishing off Peter Wilson's comment there, he also says, "Oh, by the way, I also think the 0.24% in Patreon names refers to ducks." And that got me thinking. Is he talking about, was it like...
What about ducks?
It was the homosexual necrophiliac tendencies in mallards, and I think that might be 0.24%. Maybe.
Oh, right, I see.
Maybe, which is something that we haven't mentioned on the show before.
I think, especially...
That's not many.
And if you're going to... The thing is, for Peter, I think if you're going to listen to, 99 episodes in 3 weeks, so at a rate of, again, 33 episodes a week, so, 4 to 5... I don't even... The maths is kind of crazy when you start...
Peter Wilson, did you ever go to sleep? Like...
Yeah. Yeah, but again, the amount of times he'd have heard those patron names and the amount of times he'd have heard us reference part of the 0.24%, if you know, you know, well, we obviously do not know. Maybe he got kind of curious himself, so...
Yeah. Fair. I mean, I at one stage I did try and Google it, but if you try and Google part of the 0.24%, it just comes up with a whole bunch of mathematics.
Yes. Can I make a confession? I did it once as well, and one of the top results I got was about, it was something to do with COVID rates and like vaccination stuff, and I was like, I'm not touching this with a barge pole. This is what it is.
Right. But yeah, it's thank you, Peter Wilson. Like, I don't know where you've been in the last 2 years, but presumably in a coma, because that would be the only excuse. But we're glad you're out of the coma now, and you have listened to us, binged it, if you will. But that also kind of like reminds me that a whole bunch of people have been doing their like Spotify spotlight bullshit, whatever it's fucking called, where it's like, oh, these are all the bands that you listen to and whatever. And a lot of people have been sharing the fact that we are their number one podcast with the amount of episodes listened to and the times, the amount of hours spent on us, and it's flattering. Thank you, everybody. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I honestly, when we started this journey, I don't think we knew it had legs and it would keep going for as long as kind of we wanted it to keep going, regardless of anything else. But I don't think either of us kind of like ever properly thought that we like hit the milestone of 100. Right?
It's a lot of shows, right? 100 is a big number to get to.
Yeah. And I think, like, you've always got that pessimistic thought in the back of your head that, like, something will go wrong. Someone will, go on a new journey in life or a new adventure and we'll have to part ways, or, we'll replace it with something else, or we just won't find the time. And, yeah, like, it's not only to have reached triple figures, which is kind of rad for any podcast because it makes us seem like, oh, look, these guys are established. They've been doing it for years. There must be a reason for that.
These guys are legit.
Yeah, like, it's kind of a weird thing of legitimacy. It's also just nice that, like, again, 100 episodes in, people still watch and still listen, and, like, you can still go in the comment section on our YouTube and talk to people, and still go on the Discord and talk. And there are people, real human beings, that are still along for the ride, and that's rad.
Yeah. You want to hear a funny little anecdote? I bet you guys don't even remember this.
Go on.
We recorded the first couple of episodes of ATG, of the Super Show, in the ATG basement, right?
Yeah.
And when it came time to edit the first episode, and we're talking about like how we're going to do it, blah, 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 I was like, fellas, Super Show 001. And I think it was Jamie in particular that mocked me.
I know what you're going to say.
For mentioning that we would ever make it to 3 digits.
Yeah, I was like, why would you do 001? Like, it's the first episode. Like, we're not going to make to 100.
Well,
That's funny. That's good.
shame on you, Jamie. Shame on you.
Yeah.
But yes, if you haven't figured it out yet, this whole episode, I mean, the thumbnail and the title might have fucking given it away. I don't know. But the whole kind of concept behind this episode is a celebration of all things Super Show. Because we thought, you know what, like, we did mention it before that we would do like a, when sitcoms kind of get like really tired and they're just like, oh, yeah, just fucking do a rerun show, a highlight reel.
Show some clips.
That's effectively what we're doing. But, obviously in the Super Show way and in a very podcast-friendly format. But yeah.
Yeah, we thought we'd relive some of our favourite moments, didn't we? And some of the viewers' favourite moments as well.
Favourite in inverted commas.
Yeah, favourite is an interesting way to put it.
Well, yeah, there have been a lot of highlights, fellas. And you know what? Those highlights would not have been possible if it wasn't for the help of our very generous patrons who went over to patreon.com/supershow and pledged their support. And hey, I'm thankful for each and every one of you, past, present, and future. So on screen right now, you'll be seeing a bunch of names of people that have helped us out. And I can't say thank you enough. It means so much. Like, the only reason that we are at 100 episodes is because of these names on screen right now. And of course, I've got some names to talk, like say out loud and kind of affirm them to the universe, as it were. And I am, of course, talking about Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Javella Cujo, Leo Moga, Magic Grits, Mindful Pig, Mr. Anthropic, Nathan Piers, part of the 0.24%, if you know, you know, and fellas, we do now know, maybe, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kid, Zach Cream, and the big boys. I'm talking Brett Z, Doppler, Geometric Potter, Hacksaw Book Read, Magna Mickelson, Manuel Manly Manscaped Man Guerrero, and, of course, Peaswad. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Thank you to the big boys for really kind of pushing us over the line. And yeah, we probably wouldn't be at episode 100 if it wasn't for you. So fucking thank you a million times over.
No. I don't know where I'd be in life, let alone in podcasts with that. Like, I don't look. I don't want to get too kind of like weird, like too early, because I know we've got a long journey ahead of us.
Keep the tears in, Jones. Jamie, just
I'll
at least for the end, right?
But the other thing that I always think about with the patrons is that, like, but be it sort of our bad fortune or our luck or whatever you want to call it, the entire run of this 100 episode long podcast that we've been doing has coincided with like the weirdest time in our lives, probably.
100%.
Well, you guys are slightly older than me. You're both in your late 40s.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah. Yes, World War II was hard, but 2020 and 2021 were harder.
A strange time, though, and an unpredictable time, time in terms of all kinds of different elements, and elements that, let's be frank about, like having the support of people on Patreon helps. And the thing that I always have to remind myself is that for as much as the patrons have helped us through these sort of like weird, uncertain times, the times have actually been just as uncertain for them. And they've still been the ones to kind of to stick up and to help us out, and to, like, again, to have had so many names on that list that we read out every week across the last 100 episodes is kind of crazy. And I'm very grateful for anything that anyone has ever given to help us along the way, because it has all helped. And it's helped add a little bit of normality to what could have been, and was for you as well, a fucking crazy time. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's surprising to me every week that we have Patreons who sort of support us, and every week it's sort of slightly more crazy that they're still there, and new people join the Patreon, and it's to get to 100 episodes, like that's 100 weeks we've been doing this and still have people supporting us, is kind of crazy. So thank you to all you guys. You're absolutely amazing, and thank you to everyone who watches and comments and subscribes and everyone on all over, because it's great. Yeah,
like if you don't support the Patreon, you're still supporting us by watching or listening on a podcast platform of your choice, interacting with us, leaving comments, leaving likes, leaving 5-star reviews on podcasts, because this is a 5-star podcast after all. And hey, if you would like to be part of helping us build the next 100 episodes, make sure to head on over to patreon.com/supershow and show your support. For as little as $2, you get access to our Discord, and $5 gets you access to a whole bunch of behind the scenes, extra podcasts, some stuff from the ATG archives. Go check it out. Fellas, besides the Patreon, we've been hunting for sponsors probably since episode 1. And I understand it's a hard sell. We try not to censor ourselves, and we were lucky. Let's say, like star-crossed lovers, SuperShow and Manscaped kind of, we boned, all right? We boned. And the baby that came out was the sponsorship, and I couldn't be happier. I am, of course, talking about Manscaped sponsoring this podcast. So, it means the world to me to say this. Like, it sounds weird, but it's always been an ambition to me of mine to have a podcast and have it sponsored. Fun. Bit of cool. So, support for this podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. They're the champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. And guess what, fellas? They have just launched their 4th generation ball trimmer. What do they call it? The Lawnmower 4.0.
The Lawnmower, yeah.
And it's this fucking bad boy here. Now, last time I switched it on, Jamie
we did a little ASMR vibration.
She's got a light, and I did. Yeah, you're gonna get it again.
Oh yeah,
Buzzy.
I don't know what that sounded like, but yeah.
That's the second ASMR segment you've done. This I don't know what the third one's going to be.
It's called pivoting. Okay, no more gaming news. It's just ASMR from now on.
Look, I've put all of mine in my lovely little leather bag that I got sent, so I can store all of my ball grooming goodness all in one place.
Wow.
Stylishly.
And you know what, fellas, we're not the only ones, because you too, the listeners and the viewers, could join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. That's right, free worldwide shipping. Doesn't matter if you're in Papua New Guinea. Get those balls shaved, and you can use the code SUPERSHOW at manscaped.com. 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Now, fellas, when we got our Manscaped stuff, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's got the shaver. It's got like ball moisturizer, which smells really cool. It's got like ball toner. It's kind of, if your balls are feeling a bit saggy, I guess
pep
it's
your
like,
balls.
Exactly. One thing that I didn't expect, and I'll be honest, that kind of confused me a bit. It came with a newspaper.
Yes.
And I was like, what? Why the fuck are these guys giving me newspaper? I'm just going to have to like put it in the recycling now. So I looked at it and I was like, what's going on here? And I noticed that all the pages were the same. And I'm like, something's gone wrong here. Someone's going to get fired at Manscaped because it's a newspaper with all the same pages. And then it fucking dawned on me. They give you newspapers so you could put it on the floor so that when you shave your balls, all the hair goes on the paper and then you crunch up the paper and put it in the bin. It's this fucking attention to detail that makes me so fucking hyped about having them as a sponsor.
Do you reckon that was the reason that the newspaper was included? I hope it was, because I love that.
100% is, yeah.
I love the idea, the thought of you standing in your kitchen with newspaper spread all over the floor.
Kitchen, yeah? Kitchen, Jonesy.
And your other half just shaving everything below your neck.
Wow.
See, I don't really give a shit, so I just shaved my hair onto the floor, and then it's kind of like a God will deal with it kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like an animal.
Yeah.
Like a wild animal.
That's why I love carpets as opposed to like a solid wood floor. Like that. It's like everything just disappears in a carpet. Wow. Like it's almost absorbing in nature.
That's Jamie's secret, though. He doesn't actually have a carpet. When he moved in, it was hardwood floors, but now it's a carpet. It's just matted hair.
It reminds me of the line from Guardians of the Galaxy when he said if you shone a blue light in here, it would look like a Jackson Pollock painting. I'm not saying I jizz in my carpets.
Wow.
But there's something bonding that hair together.
But my ball hair can neither confirm nor deny.
Wow. Fellas, well, what can I say? Listen, I had a blast shaving my balls. Don't know about you, but I had so much fun because, let me put it this way, okay? Your eggs are hanging in the handkerchief, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about, okay?
Yeah.
Now there is a particular activity that you can do to tauten that handkerchief, and that's
what the handkerchief.
Tauten.
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 Tweet like a tortoise.
Toiga. You know what I'm talking about, fellas.
I don't know about the activity.
In your handkerchief.
Little bit of the shine and polish, if you know what I mean.
What, that automatically makes yours shrivel up. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, because like it gets like.
Is this a pro tip? How to use the Manscaped trimmer?
It gets built up, and then when it goes,
so basically because there's less surface area, there's a greater amount of hair follicles per like square millimeter or whatever on your sack.
I don't know if it's a good tip. All I'm saying is that I did the tip and then I shaved the balls and it was fun.
I'm not getting into that. Actually, I'm not going to make that observation. But
in my head now, it's like Scary Movie where he like blasts her into the ceiling and then he shrivels up into some like little rubber man in the middle.
And then I reached over and took my lawnmower 4.0 and put it in the wireless charging dock, nice and easy. And then I turned around, fell asleep in a bed of hair. This is getting weird, fellas. No,
like a little hamster.
I'm actually going to say up front now. I feel like this is a good time to like take us at our word when it comes to selling the product. Don't take us at our word when it comes to advice for how to using it. It's clear that we're not cut out for that business. No pun intended.
Read the instructions. Don't be a little bull hair hamster like Chris.
Make use of the various accoutrements that it comes with. Oh. Make use of the shaving guards. Make use of the travel lock. Make use of the LED spotlight so you can shave your balls in the dark. But don't necessarily have a wank every time you want to shave your balls to make your ball sack shrivel so it's easy to shave. That's like it's got an asterisk next to it saying that it's an optional.
It's the Chris extra. It's the Chris method, okay? And your balls will thank you. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah.
Do you reckon the travel lock came about because they watched Fight Club and they remembered the scene where they say that every now and then you get a vibrating package?
Probably part of it.
Most definitely.
And now it's because they've got the travel lock. It's all dildos. It's never Manscaped.
It's never your manly razor.
It could be a toothbrush.
It could be that's true. It could be a toothbrush.
Do you have a toothbrush with a travel lock and an LED spotlight on it? I doubt it.
No.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I'd like to see that challenge though. Shave your balls in the dark purely using the LED light,
the flashlight, the headlight.
Oh god. Yeah. But it's a good thing about reading the instructions because I know that you can use it as a body trimmer, which is all good. I think Jonesy, you said that it's used as a body trimmer, but what you should not do is use it on your face because the last thing you want is to end up with pubes in your mouth, unless that's kind of your thing. But I wouldn't recommend it.
Especially don't lick it.
I was going to name names, but now I feel like I can't. But I have spoken to someone that you two both know, in the last week since our partnership with Manscaped began, who admitted to me that they do, at the moment, use one razor for everything. So make of that what you will. And as to who it is, fill in the blanks.
I can imagine.
I reckon I can imagine.
I love it. You both know.
But you could just tell them that they could get 20% off and free shipping for Manscaped and the Lawnmower 4.0 using the code SuperShow at manscaped.com. So everybody, have a Merry Christmas with your jingle balls, and your balls will thank you, trademarked from Manscaped, TM. But there we go. Fellas, that's our fucking sponsor. I'm fucking over the moon.
Thank you, Manscaped.
And that moon has no balls, has no ball hair. It's shaved. Get it?
I get it,
Clean.
yeah. Nice.
I should probably get that checked out. But yeah. All right, fellas, back to the fucking reminiscing, okay? Because what Peter Wilson kind of reminded us there is, especially talking about cyberpunk, is we've gone through a lot of topics. Like cyberpunk in particular is one of those things that kind of keeps on giving, because just last week, Jamie, you finally launched into playing it, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that was like, that's a year in the making. That's fucking ridiculous. Right. So we kind of got to thinking, like, what other interesting little tidbits? So we did actually reach out to our patrons, and we did ask you guys listening to the show last week, give us your kind of like top memories of Super Show. And we'll kind of like, our idea was to kind of react to our hot takes and our trash opinions. And, we'll give it a shot. I think, I think we owe it to the audience. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Wow, the enthusiasm. It's crippling.
I know what's coming up.
Do you know what that was right there,
I'm getting
Chris?
ready for some
That
arguments.
was 100 episodes of excitement all rolled into one man. That's what you just saw there.
I'm getting prepared.
Wow.
I'm not sure Jonesy's levels have gone above minus 14 decibels of this entire recording.
Yeah, this is Jonesy, this whole recording. Yeah, totally.
I'm about to just check out. I'm
Blink
done.
twice if something being held hostage.
Oh my God.
I didn't count how many blinks that was.
No, that was aneurysm, is what that was.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Anyway, fellas, I'll put it this way: the thing that I remember the most about the Super Show, and it'll probably haunt me for the rest of my life. There's no getting away from it. It's probably the thing that a lot of people think of when they think of like highlights from the Super Show, and I think that would probably have to be the argument between you, Jamie, and you, Jonesy, about whether or not the PS4 controller would work on the PS5. I've got a question for you guys. Someone on my Twitter asked the question, do you think the PS4 controller would be backwards compatible?
Yes.
I said yes, but I said probably for backwards compatible games for sure, but case-by-case basis on PS5 titles.
Do you mean you could use it on the PS5?
Yeah.
I don't think it will be.
At all.
No.
There's very little barrier to entry except for...
There's no barrier to entry. I just don't think they'll do it.
No, I disagree. I think backwards compatibility and being consumer friendly is the name of the game. I think there'd be no sense in making the vast majority of the PS4 library backwards compatible and being so like outwardly friendly and saying, no, you can't use your old controller. Sorry, you have to buy two new seats. They'd love to make money, but they'd also love to. I don't know. I just don't think it's the generation for that. This generation feels different to me.
Yeah.
And like you've got Xbox out there who are full on saying like, hey, everything we've ever released, all the controllers, all the Elite controllers, Xbox 360 controllers, the controller we made with the big buttons for people.
The Duke.
The
adaptive controller.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to. Yeah, that almost didn't come out right. They're out there saying every fucking thing's going to work. If Sony are like, so can you spend £120 so you and your friends can play these games? I don't think it's going to happen.
I think there's no way that they're going to be.
All right, Jonesy.
There's no way.
Here's the bet.
They're not.
Yeah, hold on.
Do it.
So
Here's
one
the
of
bet.
you is eating
I'll
dog
even
food
tell
at
you
the
the
end of this.
excuse.
No. I've got a better one. I've got a better one. The loser buys the winner a PlayStation 5 controller.
Oh, okay.
Juicy.
Yeah, cool. Right.
Juicy.
I like it. Well, how about no? But if you win, I buy you a PlayStation. No, hold on. No. If you win, I'll buy you a PlayStation 4 controller because you reckon it's going to work on your PlayStation 5.
No, I'd like a PlayStation 5 controller, please.
Deal. I'm in.
Deal. I like it. Okay.
Someone who's watching this, make a comment and remember. Someone with a good memory.
But I reckon I can even guess the excuse. The excuse will be because of all the changes they've made to the controller. Like the haptic feedback, like the create button, not the share button, they're going to say that the PlayStation 5, the way that it processes the info, sends out the signal to the controller, isn't the same. Therefore, they can't. But they would have loved to have done it if they could. That's going to be the excuse.
Bullshit. When the first round of games for the PS5 come out, and none of them properly use haptic feedback, and they're all on the PS4 and the PS5 anyway.
But they don't. If they can, it's an excuse. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's what they're going to say.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like. For the first year to 2 years of this console generation, most major games are still going to come out in the previous generation. Why would developers be incentivized to introduce mechanics that utilize features like haptic feedback and adaptive triggers if the PS5 was structured in such a way where if you use those things, a whole generation that 110 million people own controllers for becomes irrelevant?
Well, because they can. No, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that it's a real thing. I'm saying it's an excuse they're going to use. There's just something they're going to say that the PS5.
I think
PS5 needs to use its own controller. That's what they're going to do.
I don't think this is going to be the generation for excuses. I think they're both. Okay. I think both people are so. I think talking about Microsoft and Sony, really, Nintendo are in a league of their own at the moment. But I think they're both so scared of what the other one can do and will do that they're both going to be neck and neck when it comes to being as pro-consumer as possible.
I think
in most ways.
I think you've got the right sentiment, Jamie, but I think you've got the wrong reasoning for it. I reckon the reasoning for it is because both parties are looking at the Xbox One launch and they're saying, Microsoft is saying never again,
And PlayStation are saying just flat out never.
Basically, I think the crux of the argument is that Jonesy, I think, was, with hindsight, too definitive in his opinion in saying that it would not work with the PS5 at all, and he's wrong. I said, I was simply asked.
I completely acknowledge that because I've said.
I don't think I was wrong. I think my argument was that the DualShock 4 would work with the PlayStation 5 with no other criteria or asterisks or anything else, and I believe I'm right. Because the DualShock 4 will work with the PlayStation 5. Full stop.
No, it won't.
Full stop. Yes, it will.
No, it won't. The DualShock 4 will work with the PlayStation 5 as long as you're playing a PlayStation 4 game.
Yep.
So if someone said to you, will my DualShock 4 controller work on my PS5? You're happy to say yes.
Because it is more of a yes with an asterisk than a no with an asterisk.
No asterisk. You're happy to say yes, which is what you said.
I wouldn't be happy to give either one-word answer, but I'd be more inclined to give mine than yours.
No, I disagree with you. I completely disagree with you because here you go. If a mum at Christmas walks into a game and there's a person there who, through some no fault of their own work-based accident, can only reply in yes and no answers, and the mum goes into the game and says, "Little Timmy has got a PlayStation 5. Will this cheaper controller, the PlayStation 4 controller, work on the PlayStation 5? And the person behind the counter can only say yes or no. If they say yes, little Timmy is crying himself to sleep.
That mum asked the wrong question.
Any of his PlayStation 5 games.
The mum asked the wrong question. The mum should not have asked, will this controller work with the PlayStation 5? It should have been, can little Timmy play PlayStation 5 games with this controller? If she'd asked the right question, she'd have got the right answer.
That's ridiculous. It's a PlayStation 5. It stands to reason.
Jonesy, okay, let me ask you a yes or no question.
Hit me.
Does the DualShock 4 work on the PlayStation 5?
Sometimes.
No, it's a yes or no question.
Then I have to say no.
Then you're an idiot. An idiot. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Say yes.
Because you know what? Because you know what I'm going to do day one. You know what I'm going to do day one? I'm going to pick up a PlayStation 5. I'm going to put a PlayStation 4 disc in the slot. I'm going to put it to connect to DualShock 4. I'm going to take a picture of it's working, send it to you, and say you were wrong. You said no. You were wrong.
What I'm going to do?
You were wrong.
I'm going to get a PlayStation 5 day one. I'm going to open the box. I'm going to put a PlayStation 5 game in. I'm going to plug my PlayStation 4 controller in, and I'm not going to be able to play the game. I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'm going to send it to you, Jamie, and I'm going to say you were wrong.
Because
the PlayStation 4 controller doesn't work on the PlayStation 5.
Because it works. It absolutely works. The DualShock 4 works on the PlayStation 5.
You're wrong.
Stop.
You're absolutely wrong.
No, because you're absolutely
I'm
not wrong. I'm not wrong.
You are wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
Yes,
the DualShock 4 is compatible with the PlayStation 5.
Only sometimes.
I don't care.
You're going to sit at home with your PlayStation 5 and your PS4 controller, and you're going to have a great old time playing all your games that you get for PlayStation 5. Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to boot up The Last of Us.
I'm going to
boot up The Last of Us Part 2, day one. I'm going to play it with a DualShock 4. I'm going to send you a picture of me in my chair with my dick out, rock hard.
That's not what I said.
In the foreground.
I said you're going to sit there.
PlayStation 5 running a Last of Us 2 with my DualShock 4
for
controlling
a year with your PlayStation 4 controller, crying that you can't play any PlayStation 5 games because it doesn't work. But you're going to sit there still going, but I was right, with your little PlayStation 4 controller.
I was right. And you're going to sit there day one, you're going to get the manual of the PlayStation 5 out, Jazz is going to be screaming at you, and you're going to be scrambling through it saying, there's got to be something here about how it doesn't work. But it does. It works.
I'm psyched for day. Do you know what? I'm so psyched for day one. It's ridiculous now. I'm going to be there just trying it straight away to see if it does or doesn't. So, and to what degree. Anyway, I think people need to let us know in the comments who they agree with and who they don't.
Wow. If you guys argue for 5 more minutes, then you would have been arguing about it for half an hour. So
let's not do that. Because we might actually get something else to argue about quite soon. It was a dark time. Looking back, it was a bleak and desolate time when when you're the only person who's right. And
wow.
Oh, I'm still trying to die on that hill.
Double down on it. Like that's a scumbag move. It was bleak and desolate because you were wrong.
I believe we actually in the end we decided that we had to put it out to the audience to make a decision, and unfortunately they did side with Jamie. I think I don't remember the split. I don't remember how much probably the split was, but
probably 100 to 0.
No, it was not 100. It was not 100 by any stretch. There was I had a few. I want to say it was like 20 to 80% or something like that. It wasn't a great split.
Okay, yeah, maybe 80-20 I'll take them.
Do you remember the insane coincidental anecdote that I had when we I guess it was Was after
Oh,
the
when
PlayStation 5
you were
came
in the
out.
store.
Yeah, I was in the game store actually like buying a PlayStation 5, and the mum in front of me, like, this is insane. This is when I think there is more going on in the universe like than you can be aware of. Is because of all of that arguments about the PlayStation 5 controller. And then the mum in front of me in the store said, "Will this work?" Or no, she said, "I haven't ordered him any PlayStation 5 controllers. Can he just use the PlayStation 4 controller? Or will the PlayStation 4 controller work with the PlayStation 5? And the dude in the shop said yes. And I remember thinking, maybe I should step in and correct him, because that is not the correct answer. And imagine how sad. Let's imagine that was little Jamie when he was a kid, and his mum had come home with a PlayStation 5, and she'd handed it to him, and she'd handed him some PlayStation 5 games and said, "There you go, little Jamie, fill your boots." And he wouldn't have been able to play any of them.
You know, that did kind of happen to me one Christmas when the Xbox 360 launched, and I thought it was full across the board backwards compatibility with the OG Xbox, and it turns out it wasn't. And
Yeah.
I'd left myself in a position where the only game I had to play for like the first month or two that I owned that console was no, it was Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official video game of the movie.
Oh, no.
It's a decent game.
It's a good game.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it was. It was a good game. It was a good game.
Did you
know
ever
what,
play it, Jonesy?
I did, yeah, with the Jack Black. It was the Jack Black movie, wasn't it? With the
Yeah, but did you play the game?
More of an Adrian
No, I did.
Brody
Yeah,
movie.
I did play the game. It was a very muddy, sloppy first-person shooter, if I remember right.
Oh, no, it had some
only,
really cool
only
ideas.
partially. You also played as the ape at some time, and you got the T-Rexes, and
did,
you
yeah.
ripped their jaws open. Like, that was
Yep.
fucking quality.
And it had no HUD, so if you pressed a button, Adrian Brody would tell how much ammunition you had left, and you go, "I need more magazines."
Right?
See,
yeah.
You see, we need more games like that, fellas. Not fucking. Yeah. Anyway,
The thing is, though, that Jonesy's anecdote from being in the store, where specifically the mother of a child who's going to receive a PlayStation 5.
I'm assuming the mum. It was some middle-aged woman asking. Yeah.
some bint.
Some bin asks,
Jesus.
will PlayStation 4 controllers work on this? I can start to see where Jonesy comes from, and it's only in the spirit of episode 100 that I'm trying to do this kind of like, let's level out the arguments and try and see things from both sides kind of thing.
Okay, can I just
I'm
pause you
experimenting
there?
with it.
Don't expect the same treatment from Jonesy. He's got
No,
he's got murder in his eyes. I can see.
No, I came half the distance to Jamie. It was
Oh,
Jamie who
yeah,
refused
buddy.
to make any head.
This is also the great thing about having all of this committed to podcast recordings, is that we can go back to these episodes and we can listen to stuff. And I just love that excerpt from the very first time this came up, when Chris is asking the question, and the point blank question you get asked is, "Will the PlayStation 4 controller work on the PlayStation 5?" And you go, "Oh no." And I just love how wrong that is.
But I don't know if you
Proven to be
but-
wrong.
No, because I did say that. I absolutely said no. But then if you listen back to it, Jamie starts off by sort of covering himself by saying it will be backwards compatible and it might work, like not in every capacity. And he kind of gets very fluffy with it. But then he's actually pressed on whether or not it will work specifically on PlayStation 5 games. And he says, yes, it will. And so
Yeah.
I think that was the most... Yeah, but it doesn't, does it?
No, I thought it would, though. I thought it would.
No, but it doesn't, does it?
No, but it also works on just with everything else.
Clip
it
that. Just
it
clip
works.
that.
Hang on, you said it wouldn't work on a system level with the OS.
I said
so
it
we
wouldn't-
were
I said it wouldn't
both
work.
flat out wrong about things.
And
You were
fellas-
more wrong than me.
Fellas, might I remind you that the person who was correct in all of this is
No, you
Here we
counted
go,
yourself
here we
out.
go.
Don't even. You
No,
said I'm
hold on.
out.
I said that I was out from the bet because you guys put a monetary value on it to the tune of one additional PlayStation 5 DualSense controller. But while I might have stepped out of that, I was absolutely fucking correct in my assertion that it would work in some capacity on backwards compatible.
I think you, if I
absolutely
remember,
right.
if I remember rightly, you were weirdly right. Like you were very, very close. But then that makes it almost even
Jonesy,
worse that you were too limp to get in on the action.
It's not about being limp. It's about being fucking brain dead from listening to you two drone on for 40 minutes while I'm trying to record a podcast.
At least we're committed to our positions.
Well, committed. Do the people at home know how many PS5 controllers I got from winning that debate?
It's safe to say that I did buy Jamie a PlayStation 5 controller. Actually,
No, you didn't.
No, I did. I pre-ordered an extra one, but then Jamie, as a gentleman, did say, I don't. He said, "Don't worry about it. I don't.
That did happen. That did happen.
Yes, and I said, do you know what? We'll trade it out for something else, like a drink and some food or something like that.
Oh,
and
yes, you did, yeah.
I'm in two minds about whether or not to let Jonesy cooking me a barbecue cover for that. We have been out to restaurants.
Come on, that absolutely counts. That
you
was
spent you spent a lot of money on meat that we didn't have to reimburse you.
That's true.
That was quality. That was so good, and oh man, I still have dreams about that barbecue. It was fucking great.
Yeah, it was like, what was that? It was like, was it brisket or was it something else?
It was a tasty brisket. It was
brisket. That shit's probably not expensive. Probably not cheap. Excuse me.
We did a few things actually. I think, didn't we? It wasn't just brisket. There was some other stuff in there.
There was some sausages.
There was some boerewors. Yeah.
Oh, there was Buddhaverse as well. I tell you, one of the weirdest things for me about the whole PlayStation controller argument was it wasn't anything to do with us. I was genuinely surprised at how few of the commenters and Patreons were on my side. Like genuinely surprised. I was kind of like, because it got quite finicky with the specifics, because we were saying like, okay, we're both wrong to some degree, but how far, and then you decide. Yeah. But yeah, there were so many comments that were like, no, 100% wrong. It does work. Jamie's completely right. And I was, it's where you're like, oh, I don't think the same as some of these people. It was one of those moments for me.
Yeah. I mean,
one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, I had those moments with you during the argument where, and I'm sure again you could probably find freeze frames of my confused face as like there were times, and it was probably what you felt reading those comments, where it's like, I don't understand Jonesy's I can't see how his brain is working like this. Like, it just seems so obvious.
I love that. That you know what, like Peter Wilson did say, that's internet arguments in a nutshell, right? Having someone offer an alternate opinion, but you're just not understanding it. Like, sometimes you can just outright dismiss it, which I'd like to think we don't usually try and just outright dismiss the trash opinions that we have.
No, and we do have some trash opinions.
We don't.
For the most part.
Trash opinions.
But yeah, that was a cool one where that whole argument I felt was given life by our audience, and the fact that it came up so many times and spawned debates in Discords and in comment threads and stuff like that.
And asking our kind of listenership and viewership about what they remember the most. And I think the most commented one was probably the PS4 to PS5 argument in some capacity. Oh man, we've had some great arguments, haven't we, fellas? One of them being Jonesy's hot take on the true meaning of Shadow of the Colossus.
I finished Shadow of the Colossus a couple of days ago. So
very nice.
Hell yeah.
Very nice.
Yes.
So just another 55 games to finish?
Another 55 to finish. I'll tell you what, though, I'm going to say, so I kind of knew the end of Shadow of the Colossus.
But I should hope so. We covered it on ATG.
No, but I mean,
numerous times.
I did my thing where I don't remember on purpose. But I kind of think it worked out all right for Wanda. In a weird way, because his aim was to resurrect his bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
He took out all the demons, the Colossi, which were all part of a big bad Colossi.
No,
they weren't.
Was it?
They were. They
weren't.
They were. They were the 16 parts of Dormin.
They were the reason that
Dormin
was the dude's name. Dormu was sealed away.
Yeah,
or whatever.
They were the 16.
Dormin,
they housed the 16 parts of Dormin that was divided up and spread among the Colossi.
Dormin's the bad guy. The Colossi are the innocent things keeping Dormin locked away.
And you just slaughtered them.
No, they're not. They're parts of Dormin. Each part of Dormin was taken into a thing.
The point of Shadow of the Colossus is that the Colossi are completely innocent things that go about their. Jonesy, they live in a mystical land. They're not around anything. They're literally what the point of Shadow of the Colossus is, that Wanda is so blinded by what he wants for himself that he's willing to go into other people's habitats and kill innocent creatures. And he's so unaware of what's going on around him, that he's actually being tricked by an evil demon the whole time.
But he's not even that tricked, right? He kind of know. He must know kind of what's going on.
He doesn't know what's going to happen at the end.
He must die. He knows it's like a really bad thing because he's doing the.
Yeah, but hold on, he's just released this terror on the world, and you said like, oh yeah, he's had a good time
because then your man, what's his name? I can't remember his name. The guy who summons the spell which sucks Dormin and Wander into the fountain at the end. So Dormin doesn't manage to escape. He gets killed. No, but somebody said, tell me if I'm right or if Jamie and Chris are right. From the way I understood it, the Colossi are effectively like each one is a 16th of Dormin, so they're not evil, I suppose, in the sense that if you took an evil person and if you put Hitler's finger into a forest, then technically his fingers and it was wandering around on its own. But no, Dormin is the Colossi. They are him in part. So you're not actually killing them. You're just reuniting them to form Dormin.
No, because that suggests that when they banished Dormin, then they created 16 smaller evil things. Who would do that?
No, they're not evil. Like you said, they're just docile. Like, they're not anything bad. They don't. Yeah,
they're completely docile. Like, they're literally minding their own business. And some kid comes along and kills them all.
Do you know what it would be like, Jamie? It would be like if I got you, took your brain out, cut it into 16 chunks, and then put each 16th brain chunk into a robot and put it into its own environment. And it was kind of dumb because it was a 16th as smart as you. And then I collected back all your bits of your brain, smushed them back together, and put them in a Jamie. That's the way I read it.
No, it would be like some innocent guy who's only looking out for himself and his missus, coming and killing all those robots and doing it himself when you intentionally made those robots to make sure I didn't come back.
Yeah, but if each part of the robot was you, okay, we'll have to get into this after because otherwise this is
I wish this game was like brand new because then it would actually be relevant.
It would.
Jonesy might have just come up with the worst take of the episode, and we're not even 10 minutes in.
Because my read, or what I had understood of it, or was always the same as what you guys had said, was that they were innocent creatures. But that's not what I got from it. They were Jonesy, each part of Dormin. So
you're about 30 seconds away from telling us that Nazis were just doing their jobs.
No, I'm not. I don't remember this as an argument in so much as like a high level philosophical debate.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but the problem you had, and again, funny the way I phrased that, the problem you had, Jonesy, is that it was a high level philosophical debate wherein just about everyone that adhered to the general consensus agreed that you were wrong.
I don't. Do you know what's weird?
I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here, fellas.
I don't think I read the comments from this one particularly.
This
when you know you're wrong, you don't read the comments.
This is one thing I'll say is that the controller debate was like a debate where people took sides and things like that. This was one. This and one other take, which we'll get around to later in this episode, were the two that I specifically remember going to the comment section. People just saying like Josie, we joke, hot takes, trash opinions, like. This is bad, bro. You're wrong.
What was weird for me with that is because I don't remember that being an argument between us. I remember that as being like we were just chatting about it because I hadn't heard I don't think when you said the common consensus about what the Colossi are and whether they're not their innocent or not.
Whether they're peaceful or whether they deserve to die. I think we were talking about like how your character was like the antagonistic force in that game.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, which it was interesting to me because I hadn't heard the opinion of people saying that they were because I'll admit I sort of play up to it a bit, my contrarian sort of side and take sometimes. But I hadn't heard people's opinion that they thought that they were all good and innocent. And you were the evil one. So then when I actually played it, and I think then Jamie was saying about it, and is it Domamu? I can't remember his name. No, that's
Dormin.
Dormin. Dormammu's from Marvel, isn't it?
Like, Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really interesting because people had said, "Oh no, this is what it is," and like they're all innocent, and then you're just mean to them and attack them and stuff. And I thought that quite interesting that there was just this general consensus because to me that is quite an interesting philosophical question. Like, I don't even know if we've got to it. It was like if you took Hitler and you could chop him into bits and each bit of him didn't know.
I think put his brain in different things, right?
Yeah, and it was like, but if each bit of him didn't know it was Hitler and didn't know what it had done, are each individual bit still evil? And my point was like, yeah, of course it is. Like, just because it can't remember being evil doesn't mean it's not evil. And everyone's like, no, the poor innocent Hitler creatures. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Well,
But
actually,
they were innocent.
I've got a comment here.
They were just kind of fumbling around, Jonesy, and you stabbing your fucking sword in their glowing weak spots. Come on.
So then that's like the weird idea of the prisoner of war guards or whatever. If they've got dementia and they forget that they did that, should they still be held accountable for like their war crimes? But yeah, I'd say yes. But I thought it was interesting. Everyone was
that's such a wrong take. That's such a wrong take.
No, fair enough. Like
but that's such a wrong take because those prisoners, those POWs, they did commit those atrocities, whereas these animals didn't commit any. They were just lumbering about.
No, they did. They committed the atrocities as part of Dormin.
They were not Dormin.
Dormin was Dormin, and then Dormin got kind of like broken up and
and put in their pockets.
So if you
Dormin's another entity.
Yeah, but they were all made from. They were all bits of Dormin, all separated out.
Yeah, but those colossi didn't do anything evil. Whereas you're talking about a prisoner of war who has dementia. They did the evil thing, but they just don't remember. That's a different thing.
No, it's not different.
It's so different. It is so different.
How's it different? What's the big thing called? What's the thing called?
Oh my god!
What's the thing called in Power Rangers? The big robot.
Power Ranger.
Megazord.
Megazord.
If the Megazord, right?
Yeah.
Punched a baby. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then all broke off into the constituent little parts of
you're
No,
doing
but
it
now
the
you're
wrong way
doing it
around.
reverse. Yeah. That's different as well.
No, because Dormin was
That's
the
like,
evil thing.
saying if the Colossi existed, joined together to make Dormin, did something wrong, then split up. But that's not what happened.
I thought that was what happened.
No.
Well, the Colossi met up and was like, right, I'm going to go on your shoulders. You go under him.
No. Like you always like the Megazord was always there. You always had the Megazord, right? It had always been the Megazord. It punched a baby, and then someone went, "Oi, you Megazord, that you can't punch babies," and then broke it off into all the constituent parts and sent them to live in different areas. And the each different part, the tiger over here or whatever it is, the mammoth over there, couldn't remember being the Megazord. That's the same as what happens in Shadow of the Colossus.
I can kind of follow that.
And then if you then rocked up to the mammoth of the Shadow of the Colossus, like Megazord part, and were like, "Oi, you bloody mammoth, you punched a baby earlier on," and they were like, "I don't remember doing that." Like, I don't care that you don't remember.
No, I think that's fair. That's fair because, but where it falls apart,
ignorance is not an excuse.
Where it falls
I stand
apart
by
in
my
your
Shadow of the
argument
Colossus
is the fucking the mammoth Zord, whatever the fucking things are. He's still killing monsters, so he's not peacefully roaming the world with no fucking clue, with any sentience about him. Like,
I think whatever you believe about Shadow of the Colossus, we have to agree that in Monster Hunter, the monsters are all innocent, and you are the prick who goes and attacks them for the parts,
and you break their legs.
I think the clue is in the name Hunter. They're pretty upfront about the fact that, like, yeah, we want these things skins and teeth and meat. But can I say that also that Shadow of the Colossus discussion, let's call it, I don't want to label it unfairly, did spawn one of my favourite comments of any episode from our old friend Russ Walton, who I think encapsulated Jonesy's entire Super Show persona in one sentence. Jonesy finally finishes a game, misunderstands the ending. Which is so succinct and lovely. And
we weren't arguing about the ending. We were arguing about something very different than the ending.
Oh no, I think it came about talking about the ending.
No, but the end is obvious. Like, the end is obvious that you've done a bad thing. You were tricked into doing something terrible, and you've released it back into the world. Like, we weren't arguing about that. We were arguing about the earlier part of the game. We were arguing about the Colossi and whether or not you should have. Whether you were being bad, or because you can say, what about if they were just innocent and they were nothing to do with Domin? Then it would be a different, right? But
yeah, wow, interesting one.
It is, man. I love that. I love the switcheroo they do. It's like a old M. Night Shyamalan film, isn't it?
I just love that someone can play a game, many years, over a decade after the original came out, play it in a vacuum and just be like, yeah, this is my interpretation. This is how I saw it. And like, all debating aside, the fact that can happen. And that, like, even in the face of perhaps the greater consensus interpretation of it, you still stand by yours, and that's what this shit's all about.
Which what's weird about games is I think there's too much these days, and maybe it's because of the internet, and maybe it's because of like Reddit and the way people talk about stuff. There's too much of people just agreeing with what they hear online and saying that, oh yeah, I think the same as that. Like, make your own opinions up, man. At least.
I think that's a fair kind of take. Although
sometimes you scratch the surface and you go, why do you think that? And they're like, I have no idea. I think that because I read it on a Reddit thread. And you're like,
Reddit told me. So
yeah, Reddit told me.
Is a game really good until it's got a Metacritic score?
Right, exactly, yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Like if a tree falls over in the woods, it's making noise. Is a game really good? Yeah.
Well, it kind of brings us to kind of one of the trends that we've identified, right? Where in a bizarre kind of twist and nothing premeditated about it whatsoever, but we usually, in terms of arguments, come across as one of us has a strong opinion one way, another of us has a strong opinion the other way, and then one of us is just kind of like, yeah, I'm in the middle. Yeah. Which is like, it's fair, I guess, and I it's just one of those strange things, man.
Yeah. You'd have thought, like, the amount of times it's end up splitting that way, that maybe we forced it, and maybe that was our strange attempt to make sure we never, alienated or isolated a portion of our audience by being too gung-ho in a certain direction, but it genuinely does just work out that way. It's a fascinating thing.
Yeah. I guess one of the arguments that sticks out in my mind was, God, we didn't put it in the list here, but we need to talk about it. It is, of course, Hasan Karaman and Hideo Kojima and Abandoned. And
I loved this one because it has nothing to do with me. It was you guys arguing with each other.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like you are the contrarian of the group, but there are times where Jamie and I disagree fundamentally.
You know, when I reflect on that era, that period of of intense abandoned debate, and Chris, like, I don't know how much this tracks with you, but it almost feels like you're at a point, Chris, where you had a running theory throughout. I was going to say the year, but pretty much the whole run of the Super Show that we're living in a simulation.
Yes, I felt
like, there you go. I felt like the Hasan Karaman stuff was almost like the capitulation of all your simulation-based ideas, and now it'd come to a head in video game form, and you were just like, fuck it, let's, both feet first, let's jump off the edge, let's throw ourselves into the abyss, because like
something there, yeah, probably
this has to be real because there's no other explanation for it. And yeah, I know what you mean.
To your credit though, it has not been revealed to be Hideo Kojima yet.
Right.
Yet.
Right. Yet.
Because we were all looking forward to that fucking trying to. No one gave a shit about Abandoned. No one gave a shit about it. Okay.
No,
yeah.
And then like started these little threads and people kind of piecing shit together, and then all of a sudden people get involved and start picking apart and finding stuff wherever it can be seen, etc. or not. And then the theories just kind of go fucking wild. And then Kojima, because he's a fucking prankster, he kind of jumps in on it. And you don't know if he's doing it to promote something or just doing it to be a fucking joker, whatever it is, right? And it just kind of like builds and builds and builds and builds. And we said it like, it is either Kojima or it's just the marketing department of Abandoned or Hasan Karaman himself just kind of taking advantage of the situation and trying to run with that ball as far as they can go. And then we waited for that like online demo, that fucking that like 7 gigabyte down. Was it 7 gigabytes?
I didn't even download it in the end.
Yeah, because what it turned out to be was just like 5. Well, first of all, failing to launch multiple times, not just the Matthew McConaughey film, failure to launch, but after multiple delays, eventually it came out, and boom, it was like a 3-second clip of someone's feet on some floorboards, and it was like, oh, see you next time. And it's been a good handful of months since then, fellas.
They were a victim of their own success, I think, in the not of their own success, but I think numerology was what sort of kicked the whole thing off. It was that thing of finding stuff that could make you think there was more going on, and then the problem then was because they not only allowed it to go, they sort of, I guess the guys behind Abandoned, like Blue Box Games, is it? were happy to sort of give it a little bump every now and then because it was good for them. But then the problem is they're a victim of that success, and that they have to get something out, they have to show something off, otherwise people are going to be let down. And then what did they do? Like in the end, they didn't have the they're a small indie studio. They didn't have the time, I guess, money to do proper trailers and things onto a really strict schedule.
Yeah, well, part of the theory was that, hey, it's all scandalous because these guys had a track record of kind of like starting projects, not finishing them, stealing kind of backers' money, etc. So maybe it seems to be the case. We haven't heard from fucking Blue Box Games for a very long time. I'm kind of tempted to check their Twitter right now, but I'll leave it.
I think they did something fairly recently where they promised more stuff next year. I think most of Hassan's stuff has just been this weird kind of like, hey, I promise we're real. Please don't threaten to kill us. There's stuff coming next year.
Yeah, that was kind of the dark side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, wow, that's not good.
Do you know what, though? Like,
yeah.
I was going to say, I think you summed it up, Chris, quite well, ironically, when you were talking about the early days of the Abandoned situation, when you said no one really cared about Abandoned.
Yeah.
And now that it's all said and done.
No one cared about me until I put on the mask.
Well, I think that's what it is. And the mask for Abandoned was Kojima, it was Silent Hill, it was Konami, it was uncertainty. But the remove from the mask, like, fundamentally, bottom line, no one cares about Abandoned. Yeah. They just care about,
Well, they just care about Kojima.
Yeah, they want to entertain the possibility that things might not be what they seem.
So in our 100th episode, I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I started a bet with you, Jamie.
You did? Okay, I'd forgotten this. Oh, dear.
I did. For a crisp £5, which is big money. I know, big money. But this
big monies. That's another throwback. There you go.
I forgot about that one. Big monies. This was off the back, obviously, from me winning £5 from you with the whole God of War Ragnarok reveal.
Yes, I said it would not be a PlayStation thing, right?
And I said unequivocally that it would, and it was, and I won the £5. So I thought, hey, let me take a punt, and I'll do it again with this, because I am still, maybe less so sure now, but I am still on the It's Kojima train.
Are you still on the train?
Yeah, but I'm like on the last carriage.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready to jump off on the hill and roll down like in the Westerns,
Chris is still on the train in the last carriage. What he doesn't realise is that Jonesy previously was the conductor, and he jumped off like 3 stops ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but I like delving into the rabbit hole as much as Jonesy does. I know Jonesy's the resident kind of like tinfoil hat guy, but I can get like that from time to time. Most notably this and Dr. Disrespect. Being kicked off of Twitch.
That was a great one.
Sorry, deplatformed. But we made a bet, £5. Me saying it was definitely Kojima, you saying it was definitely not. And I think I put a time limit on it, and I did say, I believe, end of the year. Nothing has come to light, so I feel only fair and only just in our 100th episode to say that I will PayPal you £5, buddy.
Do you know what, Chris? That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. You're holding up your end of the bargain. I will say up front, I'm willing to give you the next 4 weeks if you think it will make a difference. I will also remind you that...
I don't think it will, dude.
Well, Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards trademark is just imagine? 1 week away.
Hey, if that happens, then you just give me £10.
Okay, let's do that.
I'll give you 5, yeah.
And if Abandoned is at the Game Awards and it's Silent Hill or some shit like that, if Jeff Keighley's shiny shoes come up with some other bullshit...
yeah, but like, and you know what? Shout out to P.A. Felton, okay?
Yes.
He's kept us honest.
Big time shout out to P.A. Felton because I'm not too sure the pronouns, but P.A. Felton did mention almost in every single video in our comments, it's not Kojima. In various fascinating, interesting, and often hilarious ways. Not just saying it's not Kojima, like using binary code or hexadecimal, whatever it might be, alternate languages even. So shout out P.A. Felton. You're probably right. Yeah. Maybe not. Who knows?
Either way, remarkable commitment.
Yes, good commitment. Can we move on from these comments now, please? Oh, God. Man, it drives me nuts sometimes, but it's cool. That's why I love our community, because of how engaged they are. All right. And one person who is obviously very engaged, being one of our top supporting patrons, is Peaswad.
Ah, yes.
And now Peaswad, for whatever reason, I mean, the guy's, I love him, but he must be a little bit of a pervert because he just absolutely loves it every time that I manage to slip in Asa Akira in any kind of mention, especially around
those words chosen carefully.
Slip in,
Every
baby.
time you slip in Asa Akira.
Of course.
Hold on, you're calling out Peaswad for being a bit of a pervert, yet you're the one who constantly mentions Asa Akira every opportunity you get.
Only when we're talking about Japanese names, because...
Me think the lady doth protest too much.
A big game that came out was Ghosts of Tsushima.
The joke that never gets old.
I love it, man. Well, I love Asa Akira.
I don't think he can not say Ghost of Tsushima without putting Asa Akira in there.
Just she's so prominent, fellas.
I reckon he's done a deal with Asa Akira that he gets paid £1 every time he mentions her name.
I wish.
If Chris did a deal with Asa Akira, I don't think he would take payment in that form. I think there'd be other clauses,
other arrangements.
Yeah.
I think his wife sorted the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. No comment.
Yeah, no comment.
I don't know. It was that whole running joke of kind of like, Ghost of Tsushima, Asa Akira.
Yeah.
I think it was a joke that I like just offhand made in one of our six lists.
I was going to say,
days.
I was actually going to ask you, I'm pretty sure it started in ATG days, in the early days of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
At a time where the idea of a AAA game with the balls to release with a silent T was like blowing our minds.
I thought it was before that. I thought it was like just a running thing that Chris would randomly mention Asa Akira. Like,
he did do that.
Jamie is right. Jonesy is right. Yeah, Jonesy is right. I did slip in, again, choice of words, slip in some Asa Akira into our 6 list. In fact, if you remember, there was a time in our 6 list where we would mention something, and instead of cutting away to whatever we'd mention, especially if it was a very quick kind of mention, we'd have a still image PNG pop in on the right-hand side and then pop out.
Yeah.
And I remember I did a couple of Asa Akiras there. There were also times where we kind of went on a bit of an ad-libbed rant that went a little bit too far, and we weren't sure how to kind of bring it back. So what we had to do is do the classic kind of YouTuber thing of, hey, here's bars and tones for 6 frames, and then just kind of get back into it. And I used to put stuff over those bars and tone, and sometimes it was Asa Akira.
See,
I was just trying to find out if she's retired, but I can't find it out.
I think she's in the kind of the retired asterisk column that a lot of them are nowadays, which is that we're not necessarily retired. We just realize we make 10 times as much through producing our own material and releasing it, through services such as OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly,
right. So you'd have to be like Chris and actually simp for OnlyFans and sign up.
I have never signed up to any OnlyFans, mister, and I think of the 3 of us, I know that one of us has signed up to some OnlyFans stuff, and it's not me.
I created an account. I did because you can get free things to like log in and see what people are doing. Yeah,
there are like people whose like baseline commitments or pledges start free.
No, I know. Like Jessica Negri is on not like naked stuff, but like some risque poses.
You need to put your card details in to have an account that can sign up for a free tier. I've never done it.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line.
Because that's where I have a moment where I'm like doing the back and forth between my laptop screen and my card number, and I'm like, do you know what? In a minute and a half, I'm not going to care who it is. Like, let's
just open up a Pornhub tab or something. You'll get over it very quickly.
Do you know what? I had a really random thought today, actually, talking about all of this stuff, which was, where is Belle Delphine? And it took me to the point where I actually watched the 5-minute YouTube video saying, where is Belle Delphine? And it had a very interesting
I think I might have watched the same video.
I had one recommended to me, so we might, all 3 of us.
It's probably... What happened was Jonesy searched for it, and it popped up in the algorithm, and then any time we were logged into the SuperShow YouTube, like, it just suggested more Belle Delphine stuff. But yeah, it is kind of mad. Like, I think in that video in particular, they were saying, like, she went on a whole bunch of podcasting...
Sounds like it was the same video.
Yeah, appearance sprees. Not on the Supershow, because, we have standards. We have class. And she just didn't respond to our emails for whatever reason. But no, like, she was on Max Mofo's Cold Ones podcast. Yep. Mm-hmm. And Max Mofo was like, hey, as soon as the genie's out of the bottle, no one's going to care. Talking about when she said she was going to, like, leap into some pornographic material on her OnlyFans.
Yeah, because then everyone's got what they were after, right? Suddenly the mystique just loses it.
The mystique, that's it.
The mystique.
And it's gone. And she opened Pandora's box, among other boxes that were opened, and no one gives a shit anymore. So that's it for her. Which you know what, like, you got to think of it this way. You got to think to yourself, why did she want to do that? Obviously, there was a money element, and she probably made a shit ton of money on it. And if you think about it, like, if she's smart and if she's kind of like, etc., she would have made enough money for the rest of her life, potentially. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? But you also kind of think to yourself, why would someone do this? Like, what would the motivation be for it? And
the bad thing was, so you say would have made enough money for the rest of her life. Like, she definitely didn't. I bet it was absolutely brutal. Because the problem is, if you make like shit tons of money in 1 year, let's say she cleared like 2 million quid, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
1 year or something like that. You're going to get smashed the hell with tax. Well, now 1 year. So you're going to lose almost half, because she lives in the UK. You're going to get smashed for half of that. So then you've only got 1 million. And then if you basically are then just, you disappear and you're not making any more money, you cannot live on 1 million quid for the rest of your life at like 22 or 23 or whatever she was.
Was it on Logan Paul's one that she claimed to have been on $1 million a month at one point?
Or was it $1 million? Okay, $1 million a month.
She claimed.
Yeah.
I don't know how long she maintained that prior to the big one.
Yeah,
I want to say that she, on that video that Chris and I are both talking about, I think they said that she was down. Her revenue was down to 10% of what it used to be on Patreon. So she's taking a hell of a smash.
She's taken some smashing, baby. But like, you got to think to yourself, like, okay, but she's clearly quite a kinky person, and if that's what she wanted to do, then that's what she wanted to do. And hey, she made a butt ton of money out of it. Like, I'm sure she's got other skills.
She could have. She would have probably worked quite well, which is kind of unfortunate, if she'd have managed to pivot at the right time. So she did the adult stuff, she did the OnlyFans stuff, and then she pivoted into like just a typical YouTuber. So then she had the clout of the name, she had the access, she leveled up the sort of content she was producing. I feel like that would have maybe been a better route.
You say that, and I don't think you're wrong. Like, you look at people in the porn industry in particular, going back to kind of talking about us, Kira, because why the hell not? And a lot of them do streaming. A lot of, like, Sasha Grey is like,
right, yeah.
Okay, she's obviously retired now from the industry, but she's like quite a prominent streamer. Like, a lot of them do streaming, and I could totally see her making a comeback in that kind of capacity some way or another.
I also just think that, again, we're getting kind of like a business 101 on
how to be a thought,
the world of nudes. But like, there is a part of me that believes, and this is not necessarily from personal experience as a consumer of said products, but that whilst I agree that there is like a mystique element and that thirst will inevitably build up when you withhold the thing that everyone wants for as long as you possibly can, and we've seen that countless times.
People still want the Jamie body pillow.
I mean, there you go. Exactly.
Keep them dangling.
Exactly. The longer we've got them on the line, the bigger the catch will eventually be. That's a joke, by the way. That's not the reason. We're not like blue ballsing you guys over body pillows. It's just a financial mismatch. But basically what I was going to say is I don't think the entire cat is out of the bag just because you've done the thing. Because the launching off point from this whole thing was Ghost of Tsushima and how Chris makes reference to, guess what, a porn star. We don't, as consumers of porn, which, let's face it, we're all adults here, we've all had our moments. Like, you don't watch one video with one performer and say, God, I've seen her fanny. Never, like, that's it. That's the end.
Yeah.
Like, you go back and you might watch a different one to next time, but if it's different, like, you'll watch it and you might have a like,
you do it for the person.
And basically, and the thing with Belle Delphine, and this is not me trying to, like, suggest that someone, like, actively try and prey on kind of, like, simp mentality and cuck mentality, but, like, she will have, and probably still maintains, despite her absence, an extremely devoted fan base. And it might be very boiled down now, but the people who haven't gone anywhere are the kind of people who will be whales for her in a financial sense.
Yeah, totally.
If she wanted to continue to provide content for that audience, I think she could still make a disgustingly healthy living off things like Patreon and OnlyFans.
Can I put forward a bit of an argument?
You don't put out one sex tape and every red-blooded male in the world, and anyone who's attracted to Belle Delphine for any reason or otherwise, goes, well, that's the end of that, because that's just not how pornographic imagery works.
And you know where you're kind of argument gets proved, Jamie, is where's Delphine now? When was the last time you heard anything from Belle Delphine?
Right.
She's not doing nothing.
Well, I don't know. It's quite easy to do nothing for a couple of years.
I don't know, man. Like, I think the wheels are turning there in whatever business she's doing, and I think she's just carrying on with it. And that's why, in the mainstream, you haven't heard from her because, as Jamie said, she's probably fucking milking some whales.
Well, phrasing, but yes, literally.
Yeah,
probably
phrasing. I chose that phrase on purpose, but there we go.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here, fellas?
I think anything that's not to do with porn or cum or whales or simps and cucks and
right. Okay.
I think if we avoid any of those buzzwords.
Okay, so what about throat cancer from eating pussy?
I mean, yeah.
So Chris is particularly husky today because he's got a bit of a throat thing going on. So he's not been smoking 20 or 40 fags today.
Thing.
He's got a little scratchy throat thing.
Mate, this is internet radio. You don't say a throat thing. Jesus Christ. Look,
true, actually.
I went down on Catherine Zeta-Jones and I got the throat cancer now. Just fucking deal with it, all right?
Is that actually how Michael Douglas got it?
That's what he said,
He said it was HPV. She had
HPV.
No, because the thing is, if you have HPV, it can give you cancer, right? So I think the idea was she had HPV, but then of course, didn't she get annoyed and come out and go, well, now you're just telling everyone I've got HPV
around, like everyone, isn't that a type of glue?
Human papillomavirus.
Oh, okay, that's slightly different. Okay. When he ate it.
No, because the idea is that she had it, and then he went down on it so much that he got it. Because guys can get it as well. Because like women get it, and I think the thing is they can not know they have it, and it can give them like cervical cancer and stuff. So it's very important. Get your vaccines, girls, to stop your HPV. I just think men can get it, and it can.
I think he was trying to show off. When you meet a gay guy who's still in the closet, and they're trying to make themselves out to be as straight as possible, so they're just talking in ways that no one would ever talk about eating pussy, and they're like, "Oh, I could fucking live down there. I could eat that shit for hours." You're like, no one says that.
Yeah.
No
I could get cancer for it.
Yeah,
I could eat a peach for hours.
I'd go there. I'd be down there till I got throat cancer. I just think Michael Douglas is trying to cover up the fact that he's,
Maybe.
Do you know what I've just realised we've got the answer to the question of when Tony Montana says, he says, "How'd you get that scar?" And he says, "Did you get a skull of that eating pussy?" And he says, "How can you get a skull of this eating pussy?" It's possible because you can get cancer, and then they have to cut it out, and you get a scar. So
I think we've just got a new member of the Rose Gallery, known mug rancher, Michael Douglas. Welcome. When in Rome, do as the Romans do, and the Romans eat pussy. I don't know if you've heard.
Okay. Of course, I am talking about Michael Douglas. We had a bit of fun on his behalf and Catherine Zeta-Jones's behalf. Not actually there having fun with them, but if you'll remember, Michael Douglas claimed to have gotten throat cancer from going down on Catherine Zeta-Jones. And the reason that this was brought up was because I had what probably turned out to be, I believe my GP said it was whooping cough that I had. And just was a little bit misdiagnosed. This was after my contracting COVID at the beginning of the year.
He diagnosed you with throat cancer from going down. And it's actually whooping cough.
From simping Asakira and Belle Delphine. Yeah, no, it was that. But obviously there was, I don't even know how many episodes was it. It feels like an eternity, but it was probably, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks worth of episodes where my voice was fucking raw.
You were gravelly, weren't you?
My throat was raw dogging.
I can't remember how we even got onto the Michael Douglas thing. I think it was
just an intro that I think it was just an intro that I
mentioned it, and then you said like Michael Douglas or something.
And I'll probably put my hands up and take the blame for like either continuing to discuss it or bring it up multiple times, because it's still just one of those celebrity factoids that I will never not find fascinating. Like,
it's weird because they were married. They're married as well, and the fact that he came out and said basically she gave me throat cancer, and she was like, "No, I didn't."
Yeah, like threw her under the bus. Like fucking hell.
Yeah,
they're still together, so you know.
Yeah,
and he's 150, so that's
yeah. But it reminds me of a well, I won't call it a Norm Macdonald joke, but something Norm Macdonald said on one of his podcasts. R.I.P. Norm, by the way. He said that Catherine Zeta-Jones has recently gone public announcing that she is in fact bipolar. Half the time she is deliriously happy, and the other half the time she has to suck on some old dude's cock. Which, I'd be pretty bipolar too if that was what the split that my life had left me with.
Fair enough.
R.I.P. Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, but thankfully not R.I.P. Michael Douglas. Keep eating pussy, boy.
Yeah, boy. Oh, man. Oh, God. Again, you know what? Talking about celebrities that have been doing some kind of weird things, fellas, we stumbled upon what might be the greatest podcasting idea never to leave Patreon, and that is Known Murderer.
Matthew Broderick's murdering Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick murderer. I'm just coming. I've got Godzilla on the mind now because you said going deeper, and then I remembered Matthew Broderick, and I remember Matthew Broderick killed a guy. Matthew Broderick fucking killed a guy.
Wow.
And then so I said Matthew. So the keyword should be Matthew. I can't say his name now. Matthew Broderick murderer.
Let's keep it if Jamie's going deeper. I think
Jamie's going deeper.
Do you reckon we get sued for that if they found a video and just every comment said Matthew Broderick murderer?
Maybe.
Oh my God, I don't even know.
Okay,
hashtag lock him up. Hashtag Matthew Broderick murderer.
You know what? I reckon take anything that we've said in the last 2 minutes, and that's the fucking code word. All right.
I'm just gonna fact check that Matthew Broderick actually killed a guy.
Yeah, he drove a car the wrong way down a road when he was with his girlfriend, who was the actress from Dirty Dancing, is it, or the other one? And I think they had a head-on collision with another car.
He crossed into the wrong lane and collided head-on with a Volvo.
But didn't he booted it to overtake someone? I think it was in Northern Ireland or Ireland.
It was in Northern Ireland.
Right. And he was going over a blind bridge, but he booted it to overtake him and slammed into them at like 100 miles an hour or something.
And he killed 2 people.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Double homicide.
Double homicide. Hence, Matthew Broderick, murderer. All I was trying to do was remind the world that Matthew Broderick is a murderer, and you guys were shitting all over me.
Hey, people commented that a lot, so you didn't get shot down.
In fact, one of them said Matthew Broderick, the murderer, and Jamie are going deep. So
yes.
Hey, I do. That sounds like a reality TV show where me and known murderer Matthew Broderick go to mysterious parts of the world and.
Did you know that Matthew Broderick asks to be introduced like that wherever he goes?
Honestly, if I was like a podcast host, I'd be like, known murderer Matthew Broderick. Star of Ferris Bueller's Day Off and known murderer Matthew Broderick.
Imagine at the Oscars, they're inducting him into the Hall of Fame.
John Travolta does one of his flubs. He's like, the murderer Matthew Broderick. Adele Dazeem.
Murderer Broderick. Wow, okay.
Murderer Broderick.
Yeah, can you imagine a guy? A murderer Broderick.
Adele Dazeem.
Oh,
It's a duet between Adele Dazeem and Murderer Broderick. Yeah, God. I don't know what you call it, a blessing, a gift, a disaster, a PR disaster, like a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's a number of things.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit libelous, if we can put it that way, but it is a blessing. I mean, I'm still adamant that would, if we could run it through kind of like an entertainment lawyer and a libel lawyer and maybe get clearance, then I would say that this could be like a top 10 global podcast phenomenon, really. And I am, of course, talking about Known Murderer, where we did record an episode, which is available on our Patreon for $5 tiers and up, which was...
it had to be the boy, didn't it?
Known murderer Matthew Broderick, yeah.
Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, because he killed someone.
2 people, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Was it 2 people?
It was 2. I believe it was 2 people, yeah.
Yeah.
Did one of them survive? I think maybe one of them survived.
It is funny to me, like the way this came about. The weird thing is that there's a part of me that in my head it comes from a similar place to the Michael Douglas situation, which is that it's funny when something's so, in that case, explicit, and in this case, kind of like extreme and almost like presumably taboo, is associated with someone so public that we all kind of like skirt around it, even though like it's a fact.
like,
do you know what I mean?
That dude killed someone.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. This is something I've said in the podcast before, and I always get in trouble for it, but I say it again. It's kind of like the fact that, like, World War II and a number of atrocities and took place during World War II, and the most significant, arguably, was committed by the Nazis.
Yeah,
and yet, referencing the Nazis or displaying a swastika or talking about the atrocities committed by the Nazis is arguably most taboo. One of the places where it's still extremely taboo is Germany, but that's
right.
They're the people that did it, and so it's this weird thing of like one of the only times we got.
There goes our German listenership.
Well, but again, it's historical. Like,
what's the Fast Show joke where the German guy comes to the UK and he's like, he asks about everything, he keeps asking about different stuff in the UK and just waiting for them to say, well, that was blown up in the war. And he goes, I feel I must apologise for the conduct of my nation during the war.
Yeah.
But look, no, hold on, Jamie. I need to ask you, okay? If you take Nazi Germany,
yes,
and you cut it up.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, and you put them in just wandering creatures throughout. Are they responsible for the atrocities?
See, here's the thing that you don't understand, Chris.
Yeah.
Those innocent creatures are now individually solely responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews.
I see.
And they are not innocent just because they don't want to talk about it.
But if there are 6 of them, are each of them responsible for 1 million?
No, collectively, they're all responsible for 6.
Yeah. You see, I don't know where the line is, fellas. It's some blurred
It's pretty obvious to most sensible people where the bloody line is. It's not that complicated. You can't get away with saying just because you say you don't remember doing it.
Well, but anyway, yes. I mean, Jamie, you were saying like Matthew Broderick.
Well, yeah, and it's just one of those things. Like it's an actor that we brought up because we were talking about Godzilla and Jamiroquai and all that stuff, and it's like you go on the Wikipedia, like the most public, access, for information that most people will go to first nowadays. It's just like, yeah, they killed someone. Like whether or not you think it's okay to bring it up, and whether or not you'd say it to Broderick's face if you saw him, like that's up to you. But like that's fact. That happened. Does he have a right to forget about it? Do we have a right to like no longer bring it up because he wants to forget about it? The fact that there are so many kind of weird taboo things, but taking sort of like a weirdly darkly comic thing to where you just don't get me wrong, it's brutal like to refer to him as known murderer Matthew Broderick whenever you say his name. Is
that the brutal one, or is the brutal one the follow up that we discussed, which was known racist Mark Wahlberg?
See, I actually have less sympathy for Marky Mark on that one because I remember, and like you go back, you watch that clip. It's Jonesy and I'm reading the Wikipedia entry for Mark Wahlberg's legal issues, let's call them. Again, Wikipedia even it calls them legal issues. Oh, legal issues. Like he fucking forgot to pay his taxes one year, like Wesley Snipes or something. But like the first paragraph of his legal issues.
Wesley Snipes went to jail for tax evasion or whatever it was. Mark Wahlberg, known racist.
Mark Wahlberg was asking for a pardon.
Stars in Hollywood movies.
Yeah. I just thought it was again, like there was a part of me that was just fascinated by the kind of the dual, like the contrast between sort of these extraordinarily like fascinating and sometimes sordid and sometimes unfortunate and a bunch of other adjectives, histories and stories that were tied to these people that were global stars and immediately recognizable faces, and kind of like poking a bit of fun at that just seemed like a good idea for a podcast. I don't know.
I tell you what it is as well, though. For me, is you just have a really strong feeling that if it had been like anyone else, if it had been Joe Bloggs off the street who had done like this is the thing we say, like, should we let them forget it? Is it mean to refer to him as known murderer Matthew Broderick or known racist Mark Wahlberg? And it is a bit mean, because it was a lot of cases. It's a long time ago. However,
well, hold on. In Matthew Broderick's case, it potentially was an accident.
It was an accident. He didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident.
Were you there that night, Alex Jones?
No, and if you want to find out what actually happened, you can join to our Patreon and you can watch our video, No Murder of Matthew Broderick.
There are layers to that story that people do not know.
I just remembered the layer that you
Yeah,
had,
me
Jamie.
too. Me too. I just remembered it. It was amazing.
People,
wow.
let me tell you, Hassan Karaman ain't got shit on Matthew Broderick.
Oh, that's true. That on the cuff as well. Off the cuff was amazing.
Oh, that was so good.
But do you know what it is? It's the fact that a normal person, you have to, I think anyway, would have served some kind of like punitive like punishment or whatever. They'd go to prison or they'd do whatever. And in a lot of cases with celebrities, it feels like they'd have nothing happen to them. Like it seems like the one of the worst we have to do a known murderer on, and I'm sure we will at some point, has got to be Caitlyn Jenner. Like that was madness.
Yeah.
You can't cause the death of another person, and if this is the thing, like I'm sure it happens. It's facade when it happens, and you probably never forget it, etc., etc. But it's when they seem to try and then basically be like, oh, well, no, I didn't get punished for it. I didn't get fined for it, even though it was my fault. So no one should talk about it. You should all forget it and just forgive me and keep loving me. And you're like, well, hold on.
Yeah. See, this is why I'm glad we have Jonesy here to talk about our ideas eloquently, because now he makes it sound like satire rather than three jackasses who just want to say the words known murderer over and over again.
But I think it is satirical to some
Yeah,
some
exactly.
sense.
It is satirical. And I guess that's why I think it would genuinely, 100%, no jokes, no hot takes or trash opinions. I think it would be a fascinating podcast series that we could do, like beyond Patreon, because it is satirical, it is tongue in cheek, and the layers of kind of like taking the piss out of Hollywood and taking the piss out of the entitlement and taking the piss out of the judicial systems, taking the piss out of the actors and actresses themselves, and taking the piss out of the true crime podcasting format as well. I just think it's such a fucking nice. It's a cool thing to do.
Also, they just keep doing it.
They just keep killing.
They just keep killing people.
Hollywood, they just keep killing. That's the
But let's
slogan.
be honest, we'd have to blow it up past. It can't just be known murderer, because like you've got like known rapist Roman Polanski.
Wow.
You've got known.
I was good. Another known rapist, Cristiano Ronaldo, making headlines again.
Ooh.
You've got known kidnapper, Sean Penn.
Oh
you know,
shit! Yeah.
They just keep doing messed up stuff.
Known drug pusher Tim Allen.
What? Okay, I need to know more about that one.
Oh,
Maybe
I
after
think
the show.
before he was a Hollywood star, he was like busted for like fucking, I don't know, multiple kilos of cocaine, like smuggling or something.
Although I could imagine that Tim Allen was just going to do it all himself. Even if it was a couple of keys, I reckon the boy could get it away.
Oh, you got it, Josie. You know what? Live reaction now. Just search for his mugshot, Tim Allen mugshot. You're gonna laugh, dude. If you, with that sentiment that you just had, tell me it doesn't fit with that mugshot. Great material for a podcast, but there you go.
Oh,
that's great.
It's like the most 70s mugshot you've ever seen in your life.
He also looks like a 70s porn star.
Yeah, exactly. Like moustache, long hair. It's great. Leather jacket,
great.
I believe. Oh yeah.
known drug
Kalamazoo.
trafficker Tim Allen.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah. But this is what I was saying. Like when I was trying to push.
Sorry.
Yeah, Michael Vick, were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was going to say R. Kelly, known piss monster.
Oh my God, yeah.
Known child sex trafficking rink organizer R. Kelly.
Yeah, but hold on, because you see, for some reason, that just kind of, that just like brings the whole level down, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I don't think.
Oh, I see.
Sort of,
there's a line, is there?
There is a line.
Yeah, it's a urine-soaked line. Thank you very much.
Okay, known anti-Semite Mel Gibson.
That's fair.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, not fair to be
receipt.
anti-Semite, but like fair to take the piss out of him.
Although, if you watch the Golden Globes and you see Ricky Gervais roasting Mel Gibson like to his face, that is so painful to watch. I struggle with cringe, and I cringe so hard.
But you remember that the idea that I had to encapsulate all of it and be able to cover it is you don't call it known murderer, you just call it known. You know, it's kind of got that. It's got that podcast mystique. You know, no.
Actually, I remember that when we went out for sushi with Sean Parker, and he said, "Drop the murderer, just known. It's cleaner."
Yeah, I like it. Just known.
Known assault and batterier, Chris Brown.
There's one. You must have seen the clip of it's Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson's become a bit of a lovey of like YouTubers and things, and he pops up all the time now, and he's giving his like old granddad wisdom and chatting, and they like to get him on podcasts and interviews. And then there's an interview.
Yeah, didn't he like beat the shit out of Robin Givens or some shit?
Well, an interviewer brings up on a show, he said, because I think he's talking about running for office or something, and he says,
Of course he is.
Do you think it would affect you, like being a convicted rapist? And then it's like, and then Mike Tyson just keeps calling him a piece of shit.
Because you're a piece of shit.
You're a piece of shit, man.
No, but you are. You're a piece of shit.
Wow. Okay.
So they don't like it. They don't
I'll tell you
like
what, I don't mind pissing off Matthew Broderick. Probably wouldn't want to piss off Mike Tyson.
Known burglar O.J. Simpson.
Oh.
See, that's
the angle you're going to go with.
That's the thing, Jonesy. We're subverting expectations.
Because you know what? The glove didn't fit, so,
Yeah, the glove didn't fit.
But he did steal that memorabilia. Like, what an idiot.
I watched that. Like, I obviously missed that as a kid. I didn't see it as a kid. So I watched the Kardashians. Not the Kardashians. What was it called when it was on Netflix or whatever? They did the special. The trial of O.J. Simpson.
Something like The People versus O.J.
Yeah, with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Was it Cuba Gooding? I can't remember who
it was. Yeah.
That was
and John
great.
Travolta.
David Schwimmer.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was.
David Schwimmer was
fantastic.
Kardashian, wasn't he?
Yeah. But that was really good. And then I remember watching that and getting to the end of it and being like, how the hell did that dude get off with like not getting charged with that? So yeah, known burglar.
known
burglar. Yeah, doesn't have quite the same ring to it as known murderer, but I'll give it to you. Oh man, it's fucking crazy. I'd love to fucking do it. What about? Okay, hear me out. We've had known murderer, known racist, known drug trafficker, known kidnapper, known assault and batterist. But we've also got known skinhead, Jamie.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, Jamie on camera. Just
it's too low, dude. You need to
your head, your half of your head's cut off, dude.
What's wrong? Is it too zoomed in or something?
Yeah, just zoom in or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, one sec.
Oh, come on, dude. Be more
Has
professional.
that fixed
Oh shit!
Oh God!
What? What's wrong?
Something's happened. Something terrible.
Oh my God! Bam Bam Bigelow's in the house.
No, same old me.
Same old you. Just
You're missing something, dude. Something's missing.
You know what? But I feel more complete than ever. So
is that a new T-shirt?
no, I just trimmed the beard a little bit. I think that's what's necessary.
Right. Okay.
Nothing major.
Makes
listen,
sense.
for people listening to the podcast, because we are available on a podcast platform of your choice, as well as on YouTube if you want to watch what we're looking at right now. But Jamie has shaved his head.
It's the quarantine, baby. Anything goes.
It's the
Am I right?
quarantine.
It's a strong look.
If ever there were a time to do stuff like this, it's now. That doesn't mean I necessarily did it on purpose, but here we are.
I did hear a rumor though that you had a bit of an infestation of lice. Is any truth to that?
I can neither confirm or deny. I'm going to have to leave that one to the imagination. But here we are.
Enough.
At least you can see the scar a little bit better.
Oh,
I
nice.
don't know if
I
that
like it.
plays well on camera, but
Ladies love a scar.
oh,
So you're in.
bit too close to the hairline. It makes everything look a little bit uneven. But there we go.
Like
learn
you've got
new
that-
things.
you've got that kind of like dipping down in the middle of your.
Was it called Widow's Peak? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Widow's
yeah.
Peak, I think it's called. Yeah, I don't
You
know.
can see how thick Jamie's hair is because even when it's all shaved off, there is dark. There's a dark shadow there
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
this is where I should be.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I think it suits you.
I mean, do you know what? Everyone's been saying that, but I think they're just being nice to me.
Nah, because you know that I
don't.
don't need to be nice to you. If I think you look like a
Yeah,
prick,
but
I'll
also the
say
first
it.
person you compared me to was Bam Bam Bigelow, which is
Bam Bam
close to
Bigelow
calling
is a
me
legend. What are you talking about?
He's a legend within a very specific context, a context that I don't belong. If I was a professional wrestler, then hey, throw those compliments my way. But
Yeah. Did you shave your head because you want to do your album stretch marks?
basically, yeah, this is the start of my transition into. I'm either going to be a hip hop star or a Nazi by the end of the year.
That was a surprising moment. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad it happened. It was in the height of lockdown. We were all kind of going a little bit stir crazy. Didn't know what was going on. I mean, like, fellas, 2020 and 2021 have been fucking dog shit years. Only made ever so slightly bearable by the Super Show and our patrons, right? But the one glimmer on the horizon was definitely seeing Jamie's scalp when he turned on that camera, and lo and behold, Jamie had been replaced by Bam Bam Bigelow.
The one and only. The one and only.
only.
You know what? I'm personally glad it happened as well, just simply because I think a lot was made of that early pandemic era as we were all adapting to our first ever experiences of being locked down.
Yeah.
And everywhere you looked, it was about ways to improve your life during lockdown. And we can all, with hindsight, reflect on that and say, like, actually, improving your life in lockdown, the realities of it weren't that different to improving your life outside of lockdown. It's hard. Are you going to learn a language or learn an instrument or change your life with a diet or stuff like that? Like, potentially, yes, but the commitment you needed to doing it was the same as if you weren't locked down, more or less. Some things were easier. And so I'm glad I came away from all of that. And one thing I can say that no one can take away from me is I experimented with something that had fascinated me and made me curious for my whole life. Well, that too, you have to experiment, right? Like, it's 2021, begging for everyone. Yeah. That's that's my podium, and I'm going to stand behind it. But like knowing what you look like with a completely shaved head, knowing what it feels like to have a completely shaved head, is something that I think. This is going to sound a bit weird, but I'm going to say it. A lot of adults will die not knowing, and I'm not going to be one of them.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's fair. So after you did it, I really wanted to do it. Like, not straight after, but like you'd planted the bold seed in my head, and I was like, I'd like to give that a try at some stage. Yeah. This was when I was still searching for a job.
Right.
It
And
was also the time when we had to cut our own hair. This is what I think that led to it, and it was a bloody nightmare trying to cut your own hair. It was horrendous.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamie just went the whole hog, and it was beautiful. And he did.
Yeah, he shaved the whole hog. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't refer to Jamie as a hog, but you did. It's fine.
It was. He shaved the hog. It's another Manscaped reference right there. But he did it messily because he didn't have
20% off and free shipping using code SuperShow if you go to manscaped.com. But yeah,
I think it stands out to me the most about that whole episode, though, quickly, was how quickly his hair grew back after.
Yeah. I think I shaved it off in May, and I had my first, like, I need to go to the barbers and get my hair cut, like, a couple of months later.
Yeah. But you do go through that awkward fuzzball phase, right?
Yes, and I think I've said to a lot of people since is that, and I got very self-conscious about it, and you can see it, especially if you go through a lot of the podcast recordings in July and August, and also if you can be bothered to go back and find streams that we did then or clips from streams that we did then, my hair all grew back at once, but obviously, inevitably, as someone in their late 20s, different thickness of hair in different area, which, gets leveled out, and then you go for haircuts and different emphasis is placed on different areas, and everything kind of finds its natural place, but you can't control it. And so to have a spot, kind of like a semicircle at the front and center of my head that was obviously not growing back as fast or as thick as anywhere else, you feel self-conscious about that, and that sucks. Because you can't, do a comb over, which is what we all do to a certain extent. But it's still fascinating. And I will also say, with hindsight, having watched back that clip now, for the sake of this episode, I don't like how it looked like as much as I remember thinking it was okay at the time. At the time, I was like, it was fine.
It was good, man.
I prefer having hair. I don't prefer having hair this long. This is too long, but
well, yeah, there we go. It was a good look. It was a good look. Let me tell you. What's next, fellas? You know what? I think it's about time we get back into an argument, right? Because it seems to be the bread and butter of the show. It's not about going through all of this stuff. I've realized something. We claim to be a gaming podcast, even though there is a bit of a running joke where, hey, we're a gaming podcast and we don't really talk about games all that much, even though we do. But it's occurred to me that we are not a gaming podcast. We are a pop culture podcast. Ooh. Like we're the zeitgeist, baby. And yeah, it's just interesting, kind of like being about that, because obviously we do need to talk about games. It is what we are most passionate about. But it's kind of hard to talk about games when, there are certain criteria as to what makes a game a game.
True. Very good point.
And I am, of course, talking about Jonesy's argument that there needs to be at least 51% playable aspects of a game for it to be considered an actual game, because Alex Jones dislikes joy and dislikes Telltale games. So go on, Jonesy, defend yourself on this one if you can, because it's fucking mental.
No, it's not mental. It's like there is a point of which something is a movie, and there is a point where it's a game, and there has to be a line, and that's simply my take on the whole situation. Is there's got to be a line somewhere. We have to draw that line and say, this is a game, this is a movie, this is an interactive story to some degree, and not everything can be what you say it is. Like, a Jaffa cake can't be a cake just because you call it a Jaffa cake. If you make a game, which is the vast majority of which is you watching, not having any input, you can't call yourself a game. And Telltale, for me, I think Telltale are obviously games. I don't think Telltale aren't games on the whole, but there are definitely some things that come out which straddle that line of being like, is it a game? Is it an interactive movie where you occasionally have to push a button? And I think at the time we even raised was someone brought up Bandersnatch.
Right, yeah, on Netflix.
Well, Bandersnatch is a gamified like episode of Black Mirror, and there are game elements, and you can replay sections, and you can you can try different things. And I think we came up with the arbitrary, or I think I came up with the arbitrary number of, if it's 51% and over, then it's a game because the majority of it is interactive. Then it's a game, and if it's less than that, then I guess it's a interactive movie.
Okay.
Interactive movie.
But so
I don't even know what to call it.
There's a game that both of you have played, and to be fair, I haven't played it, but there was a game that you two gushed over recently, like within the past, let's say 3 months, maybe 4.
Was it The Artful Escape?
It was The Artful Escape.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see where this goes.
Now, from my recollection of, particularly I think it was you, Jamie, who was mentioning about the game itself and the, let's call it the difficulty aspect of it. It's like easy platforming, couple of jumps, do a couple of doodads here and there, and that's your game. But it's more about the experience, right? Like that was the whole crux of it. It's like the feel and the kind of like the graphical presentation and whatever it is. Would you say that game, a game that you gushed about and that you gushed about as well, Jonesy, where would you say that rates on the Jonesy scale of percentage?
See,
how much of that is a game and how much of that is an interactive experience?
That's the issue I have with your question. Is not the question itself; it's the fact that I disagree with the entire principle of Jonesy's scale.
But this is what I'm trying to.
Because I think putting numbers on it is exactly what Jonesy called it, which is arbitrary. The Artful Escape doesn't need a number; it's a game, and there's a full stop. It's so like it's almost like. It's 100%. I don't even know. Like,
I think The Artful Escape's kind of easy for me, like, because that is, if you don't play that game, nothing happens. Like it's like any other game. It has cutscenes, obviously has levels. It's too easy to be
okay.
I think some people say like, oh, would it be on Game of the Year sort of lists? For me, the problem with that was I loved that game. I had a great time with it, but it's far too easy, and the amount you have to interact with it is not enough to make it sort of like a game that I were blown away by, like the mechanics as well as the visuals as well as the sound. Like they could do with a lot more to it. But I think we even referenced at the time was another indie game called Gree, which when I was playing, there are sections of that game, especially like boss fights, where if you don't have any input, if you don't touch the Switch, like I was playing on the Switch, it would almost play itself. Like you wouldn't have to do anything, and you would complete the level, complete the boss fight, and end up in the same place had you not done any inputs, or had you thought you were helping by moving the stick and moving the little character to the left and right. And that to me is a little bit more annoying, is when you realise, it doesn't necessarily matter if I'm having anything to, like, does it matter that I think I'm having an input here when it doesn't actually matter at all? Like that to me is like a bit of a tricksy thing where it's saying I'm a game, and you're like, but are you though?
But it's still a game.
But Gree was a game.
Gree was still a game, yeah, because it was whole sections of it was easily over 51% of gameage.
Okay, but so are Telltale games? I mean, the hints in the title.
Yeah,
there.
but like
Telltale is more tricksy because whole sections.
It's
of that
really
you just
not though, dude.
Because the reason I think the percentage thing is silly is because, like, we're talking about percentage of time where you're controlling something and percentage of time when you're not. If we were to look at a game like Death Stranding, and let's say we were trying to get the official verdict on its percentage scale, are you honestly saying we pause the stopwatch when a cutscene starts? A cutscene within a game is a part of the game.
No,
like, so
I'm not.
So what is the negative area of the percentage in a video game that we determine is just a game? What was the 49% if we're establishing that cutscenes don't matter?
Yeah,
I see. Reality, I think the number, like you say, is arbitrary. I think it's more like how it feels, and if it feels like it's mostly you watching something happen, then I don't think you can necessarily call it a game. Which is sorry, mate, go on.
That sounds like you just saying, yeah, it's bullshit, but you know,
deal with it.
My whole thing,
yeah, basically.
My whole thing was bullshit, but I'll stick to it because
no, but there's you know, there is obviously it comes down to, again, I think it's similar. It's not the same. It's similar to the PlayStation controller thing. Is you can absolutely say to someone, this is a game, and you can be talking about, you know, like whatever you like, a Telltale game, like an interactive experience, whatever. But I think when you tell that person who doesn't know what you're talking about, and the reason I say it's like the PlayStation controller thing is, if someone came to me and said, does this work with the PlayStation 5? Like, is it? And I said, yes. I know that I'm keeping something back which is relevant and that they might care about and may have an impact on them. So if someone says to me, is a Telltale, like if I know it's someone who's played like The Witcher and Grand Theft Auto 5 and Need for Speed or whatever, and then they say to me, they ask about a Telltale game and they say, is this a game? If I just said, yeah, totally, I feel like I would be misleading them slightly if I didn't asterisk it.
That's mad.
That's where you and I fundamentally disagree, Jonesy. And I think that, like, by trying to almost like divvy up video games as an art form into sort of like varying degrees of interactivity, I think you're only limiting kind of like what they're capable of. And like, I just don't think there's any benefit to pigeonholing experiences based on the. Huh?
Why do you think it's limiting?
I think you're.
I'm not saying they shouldn't exist. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist.
But I'm saying you're pigeonholing them in a way where, like, that's you meeting someone who is open-minded and curious to play more video games, and that's your way of saying I wouldn't recommend it to them. Why?
No.
Why are we closing people off to experiences?
I didn't say I wouldn't recommend it to them. You're putting words in my mouth. I said I would feel like if they said, is this a game? And I said yes, I feel like I would be holding something back, which is relevant.
That reminds me of like someone like someone asking me, like someone who I know really likes Fast and the Furious and Star Wars and the MCU, asked me if Parasite was a good movie, and my response is, I feel like if I say yes, I'm holding something back, because I really do need to tell them it's in another language and they'll have to read subtitles. Like, why are we inhibiting it? Why the asterisk? It's a video game. Let them experience it. Let them discover something they like or don't like.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Like if it's something that it's not going to, if they can just like play something else. But then, like I said, similar to the PlayStation controller thing, if you just said yes, then that's not technically all of the truth, is it? It's like it's something which they might go, oh, cheers, mate, and you're like, what do you mean? And you went like, what? I thought this was a good game that I was going to get, and it's not what I was expecting at all. And you're like, oh, sorry, Adam. Do you know what? Okay, do you know what it reminds me of a little bit? You know, on Facebook, when you're scrolling through Facebook and you see those little adverts for games, and they look really cool and like uber interactive, and you get to play and do whatever you can. You're basically saying, yeah, it's fine that they do that, and that the game that you download on your phone is completely different.
That's not
because they're both games.
False advertising.
And keep it. You know, why would you close them off to a new experience? They might really love it.
Because that's literally advertising that experience under false pretenses, which I don't think you're doing by describing a Telltale game as a game.
Telltale,
I don't think that's false advertising.
Telltale can be tricky because Telltale have more gamey games and less gamey games, and they kind of, you know, and unfortunately they don't exist anymore. So they're a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Well, Jonesy, let just to move it along, but to relate it to what we've kind of just been talking about. If someone had to come up to you and say, is Snowpiercer a movie? How would you feel about recommending that to someone as a movie, knowing what you know about it? Because clearly you had some strong opinions when we did discuss Snowpiercer on the podcast.
Look, Snowpiercer is absolutely a movie, but if you think that was a happy ending, you've got another thing coming. Okay, I'm sure people probably all seen it out there, but if you haven't seen it, it immediately made me think of Metro, right? The game.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's what you're going to think. And And it wasn't that. And very early on, you realise, it's not like a big expansive world like Metro. It's literally one train. The train is not very long, but they're supposed to. They want you to believe that this is the whole world and everyone lives here. So then you're like, okay, so they have to be when they walk from like one end of the train to the other. This whole thing is they go from the very back tail at the end of the train to the very front. That they're going to go through. You kind of imagine, and you can see what they're going to do with it. It's going to be like, it's going to have a bit of a political message. You're going to start the tail where it sucks and they work hard and their lives are shit and they barely get anything to eat. And then they're going to gradually make their way through, the stages of society and go higher up the class structure and all of this. Yeah. They don't do any of that. They forego all of that. They just say there's the tail who apparently don't have jobs, don't work, it appears, which is kind of the whole point of like the underclass is that they have to work for shit all money. Like, that sucks. Like, that's one of the things I think I would have led with. Like, backbreaking work every day. They don't do that. They just seem to be just standing around eating these protein bars.
It sounds like good. That sounds good to me.
Oh, but it's all like filthy and crap and horrible.
Yeah, but you get free protein bars, Jonesy.
But the protein bars are made of cockroaches, is what you find out. Great.
Hey, you know what? Insects are the superfoods of the future. So.
Yeah, and to be fair, like this is they went in the film, they try and make a big deal of it. I'm like, if you'd eaten that your whole life, you wouldn't have like really given a shit. But then they then make their way from where they live. They're like, we're gonna take over the train revolution. It seems like really quickly they just end up in super upper class. Like no one has a job, everyone's just a drug addict and wears fur coats. And you're like, where's every other strata of society? Like I thought you were going to give me a social message, and you've gone straight from like the lowest you can think and the horrible scenario to all these druggies. And they don't live anywhere, apparently. They just all like float around in this club. Like there are no rooms, there are no beds,
no showers.
There's like 4 people that work on this whole train. And there's supposed to be like thousands of people that live on it. They have dead chickens and like sides of beef hanging up, but no live animals.
That's kind of weird.
Where are they finding the chickens?
Yeah.
Anyway, you get all through that crap. Then the payoff, like the twisty twist and everything, is just shite. It's not enough. And like I said, I'm not going to drone on in case I know. But yeah, it was one of those where it looks great. It's got good actors. It's well written. Like the writing's fine.
Yeah.
But the plot itself is just kind of boring, and the world building is almost non-existent. And they do some lazy ass stuff where they throw twists at you where they go twist, and you're like, I already knew this was the thing. Like it's so obvious that you were going to do that. Yeah. But then they don't. Then they don't even do that. They don't even do an M. Night Shyamalan and like it was the plants. They don't even do one of them. Like where you're like, that is mad. They don't do that at all. They just kind of go. I really want to give away the end now, but I don't know if I
do it. The movie is so old, dude.
Okay, so they get to the whole way to the end. Ed Harris, who's the train driver, says, "Oh, you weren't supposed to make it this far. The whole plan was the guy you thought was on your side, who was really on my side, who was leading you to do the revolution, because it basically turns into the Matrix. It's the architect going Neo. There are 2 born into the Matrix. There's the architect and there's the what's her name? The Oracle.
The Oracle, yeah.
And the Oracle leads Neo to the architect, and then the architect, and then Neo decides to become the first man inside the Matrix, and then they rebuild the whole thing. That's literally the plot of this movie. But they mess up because Ed Harris says, you weren't supposed to make it this far. You were only supposed to make it to that middle carriage, and then you were supposed to die, or 74% of you were supposed to die or survive or whatever, and then you were supposed to go back. But then he's like, oh, but it's actually good you're here because you're supposed to take over as the train driver because I'm getting too old and I can't do it. But I know that you're going to carry on in my vision to keep everyone safe. Because, without a leader, look what happens to them. And they're all there like causing a ruckus. Causing a ruckus, an understatement. But whatever, they're killing each other. So then Chris Evans is like, I will not become the architect. I will save the day. I will save Zion, which is like the Matrix equivalent. But he doesn't. He gives the match to the girl or the kid who sets the bomb on fire that blows the train up and kills everyone. He's Neo if the Matrix actually blew up and everyone died.
Oh, I love it. Josie,
then,
can we start a movie review podcast with you? Because at the helm,
so he's just ruined. So do you know what he's proved Ed Harris right.
Yeah.
Ed Harris was right. Like he should have stayed on the train. Then the film ends. This is my favourite part of the whole movie. The film ends with a 5-year-old kid, boy who's left, and a 17-year-old girl. Right, that way round, you realise that girl has about maybe 20 years, if she's lucky, of childbearing left in her, and they are the only two people left on the planet. She's going to be sleeping with a 5-year-old. Like as soon as he can do it, she's going to, because they have to repopulate the planet. She can't pop out enough kids, right? At least if it was the other way around, you could rationalise men stay fertile until they're like 100. So at least the guy could wait until she's 18 years old and then it's like adults. But in this world, she's older. So they have to start going as soon as that kid is ready. So this kid at 11 or 10 is going to have to start getting her pregnant, which is a grim way to end a movie for one. Then what do they do? I had an argument with my wife about this because she said I was full of shit, but I'm convinced I've heard this. They then see a polar bear like on a cliff because the whole world is frozen, right? So they get on the train. It turns out the world is not as cold as it was, and they can live outside the train. They see a polar bear, and the polar bear looks at them, and they look at the polar bear, and this is supposed to be the point at which you realise, the world can sustain Earth again. They can rebuild. So you've got in your mind that this pedo lady's going to be sleeping with a 10-year-old boy, but then you realise, hold on, polar bear, one of the only animals that actively hunts human beings for food. And these two people have never been in a life or death situation where they have to survive. The polar bear is going to eat those two people.
I love that.
Like, why wouldn't it?
Please start a movie review. I fucking love it. It's you're absolutely right.
You want to deal with kids boning and polar bears eating people's faces.
Wow.
And that's the film for you.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of implied, but didn't really happen, though, did it? That was you connecting the dots with your sordid mind. Jamie, you weren't there in the podcast when we were discussing this. I think you had some work to do or something. Like you just couldn't. I
was in another part of the country.
That's the one. But you did listen to that podcast, and
I did.
You know, let's just get your take on it, big man.
It's a unique experience being able to sit back in a deep, comfy armchair and then indulge in a little discussion like that. I think it was also fascinating that because it was just the two of you, like to approach that kind of a conversation on that topic with a more combative sort of like outlook, Chris, wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have made sense for the podcast, right? Because like the only two people on a podcast getting caught in an argument with each other that will probably never end.
What have you argued about?
I don't know, like
around Snowpiercer.
Well, I just think it was even for a movie that I haven't seen, based on what I've read and what I've come to understand, it was a fascinating interpretation. And all it really made me want was
to watch Snowpiercer.
It made me hungry for more sort of like
polar bear
pitches of like what the sequel would be about from films with open-ended or like open to interpretation endings. Because Snowpiercer, right, from what I don't even think it ranks that highly on the open to interpretation. Like, yes, you would have to fill in a lot of the gaps and you could make up a lot of different ways you could go, but it's not trying to be kind of like mysterious or intriguing or obscure in the way it ends. And yet I think it sounded like Jonesy picked up on some pretty like almost irrelevant elements and worked them into the plot in a way that
they were not irrelevant.
I don't think you're meant to assume the polar bear's going to eat them.
It definitely would, though.
Well, but I think that's besides the point.
Let's just get that out there. But the maddest thing about the end of Snowpiercer, to be fair, maybe it's supposed to be a bad end. Maybe it's just supposed to be a really negative, bad end. Like, I can't read it any other way. Like, it's just a really, my goodness,
Jonesy,
it's a terrible end.
It's 51%, it's only 49% narrative and 51% kind of like player-led.
Interactive.
So it's a game, and what's happened is you chose the bad ending.
I chose the bad path, yeah. Yeah, Captain America was not a hero in my tale.
I love this particular one because it kind of gives a fascinating insight into the way that Jonesy's mind works, which is not a diss in any way, Jonesy, and I hope you don't take it in that way. But it's...
How can you take it in any other way?
No, but it is fascinating that like the conclusions that you draw... What was interesting about this was I didn't disagree with you.
Yeah, because it was all true.
It's heavily implied, but the implication is there. But it is just a fascinating kind of insight into where your mind goes, because a lot of people don't kind of take it to those like further degrees. They're just like, oh, okay, they're going to have to repopulate. And they don't kind of think to themselves, and that's going to be against the law because they're underage and the polar bear's going to eat them. Like,
Which
it's interesting.
was strange. Maybe people don't like think about it as explicitly as I do, like consciously. But there's something that's always fascinated me about films in general, which maybe is why I like have a weird take on the end of Snowpiercer, is movies have implied realities weaved throughout their narratives, and when they don't stick to that, it completely messes with us.
Yeah,
and because it's ubiquitous, we just all take it for granted. And I think for me, obviously Snowpiercer wasn't one maybe that many people were like, oh, hold on, this is a weirdly shit ending for like, you know, you're trying to give a outcome and almost like a philosophical outcome, and then it completely destroys its own ideas. But then it's films like Jurassic World with the babysitter who gets eaten and like devoured in the most outrageous way possible. And then my mind goes to, Jesus, what is this? Is she like a kiddie fiddler in another life? Like they cut some scenes out, because why?
Known kiddie fiddler.
Else?
Fucking hell, Jesus.
Jurassic World babysitter.
She gets killed in such a
That's
mean
the next
way.
episode.
Like Jurassic Park, they do it.
Was she the one that got like plucked out of the air out of the ground from the pterodactyl or some shit?
And then she gets eaten by like 3 of them. And then
they
she
like
falls
drop
in
her
the
and then grab her
water.
again.
Yeah, and then at the very end, just when you think maybe she'll escape, she gets picked up by another pterodactyl, and then the mosasaurus comes leaping out of the water and eats her. And you're like, Jesus, what did she do in a deleted scene? Like, was she messing with the kids? Like, come
because
on.
like
Wow.
that's sort of like the unwritten rules of like film, is that in a sort of a blockbuster like that, you establish the reasons why a character might have to suffer.
Exactly. So in Jurassic Park, it was the lawyer.
Yes.
It was the blood-sucking lawyer, and it was like he was made to be the sort of the pseudo villain for the first part of the movie, because it was like, well, he's not a nice guy. He shouts at children. So you've ever noticed this in films where romantic films, when they have like romantic comedies or whatever, they always have to have the partner. So you often have the person who wants to be with the other romantic lead of the movie, but often one of them has a partner. And the way that you have to separate that coupling, because you can't just separate the coupling, because then they're the scumbags. So you have to show that like the partner is either abusive, like really mean to them, doesn't really give a shit about them. And it's in every movie like that. Like you have to do that. And if you didn't, you would end up with the couple at the end of the movie are a scumbag couple who broke up a perfectly fine couple, and everyone would hate it.
Like in A Long Game Polly, where she shags the scuba diver instructor.
I love that.
Scuba?
Scuba?
Like, was it? Is it The Wedding Singer where he? Adam Sandler wants to get with Drew Barrymore, and then they have to show that the husband is like a scumbag.
Yeah.
And they weave it through the movie, and then eventually he's like, oh yeah, he just sleeps with everyone he wants.
Yeah, but all they had to do was just, which is a kind of gag they did in the airplane at the end of the movie, but it's all they really had to do. It says, oh, if you married this guy, your name would be Julia Gulia. That's all they had to say. They didn't have to do all of that legwork. Like, it's a fucking Adam Sandler movie.
I thought the other thing that, ironically, the film I thought you were gonna say, which actually I've now realised also has the same thing, was I thought you were gonna say Wedding Crashers, but that ends up having the same thing, where despite the fact that Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn's characters are designed around like, hey, what if we went to various weddings, even uninvited, because it's the best opportunity to pick up women, and when one of them inevitably falls in love with a newlywed, they do everything they can to make Bradley Cooper's character, the husband, like to be the biggest dick he can, and the marriage to be not everything that it seemed it would be, so that Owen Wilson can still be Owen Wilson.
It's like another way that they obviously do it is
Wow.
one of the starkest examples is if you want to kill a lot of people in movies, you have to dehumanize them. So you can put masks on them, you can put like face coverings on them. And in Equilibrium with Christian Bale, they literally were like, just give them blacked out motorbike helmets. Just dudes rocking around for no reason. They're not on motorbikes.
Equilibrium. What was banger.
And they have to dehumanize everyone that he kills because they want him to gun Carter the shit out of everyone, but they don't have time to create like
that film was so sick, man.
The villain narrative of all the individual baddies, and so they give them blacked out motorbike helmets to dehumanize them. And of course, then you have films like Austin Powers, which does the beautiful thing of taking the henchman and then doing the whole bit where it's like
The henchman's wife. Yeah.
His name was Smitty, and then and it rehumanizes them.
Those cutaways that humanize him are like what you did to Snowpiercer. Like they went to the place that most people's brains never go to.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. When you say it like that, I am kind of weird.
So basically, this is our announcement that Alex Jones is going to be writing the reboot of Austin Powers.
Hang on,
Austin Powers.
One thing that Jonesy, sorry, James.
Can I do the remake of Equilibrium then? And I'm just going to do an identical shot-for-shot remake with the exact same cast because it doesn't need to be changed. It's a movie.
But with Vince Vaughn.
Okay, fine, yeah. You know what? Vince Vaughn can replace like the main bad guy in Equilibrium because that was the only casting.
Tay Diggs?
No, not Tay Diggs. Like the main, the main bad
scene.
guy who's like, it'd be a spoiler to say it, but like the main bad guy.
Oh yeah.
Like that was the only casting in the film that I was never 100% convinced by.
If you haven't watched Equilibrium, you are no fan of the SuperShow. Go watch
the
it.
Scene where he's got the magazines
Sean
for
Bean
his gun.
dies. Do you need to say anything else?
Yeah, but he's got the magazines for his gun that have got like the half spheres on the bottom, so they always stand upright, and he rolls them out down the corridor at the beginning of the fight, so he can flip onto them and reload his guns halfway.
It's so fucking cool, man. It's so fucking cool.
Any film that just without batting an eyelid and completely serious just says, no, we've got this special gun carter where if you move in a certain way, you never get shot.
Yeah,
and you're like, amazing.
Also, take pills so that you don't feel emotions.
Yes.
I mean, I do that often. Especially after the podcast with you fellas. I have too much emotion in the podcast and I just need to cool down. So it's like taking a downer after like the upper of you guys. So,
nice, bounce it out.
Yeah.
It was I hadn't read 1984 when I saw Equilibrium. I saw Equilibrium when I was at uni and it was, I love it, a really great sort of action film. And then later on I'd read 1984 and I'm like, oh shit, okay, this is right out of like George Orwell's Playbook or something. Cool movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Do you know what? Actually, what I'd do is I'd cut out the whole like side story of like all the people who live underground with what's the English actress called?
All the art and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's that. I'm looking it up now. Emily Watson. I'd cut out all of that stuff and just replace it with more fighting scenes.
Yeah,
just have him fight everyone.
Or Christian Bale goes down there, finds them, and just fucking murders them.
Yeah,
there's a great scene in Equilibrium where he's helping those people escape. Like to flee because he's now got emotion. There's a couple of great scenes, obviously.
Oh man! They
surround him, but as they surround him, they sort of like the little motorbike helmet men run up, surround him in a perfect circle, and then kind of go, "Oh no, what's happening? Oh, hold on, it's him. He's the bad guy." And it's then just perfectly positioned for him to do his smacking them all in the face with the heels of his guns.
Yeah,
which is great.
It's so fucking good.
And when the glass shatters, they're dead.
Yeah, could we
so good.
I just want to do like a fucking because you could do those watch-alongs on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
If it's on Amazon Prime Video, we should fucking arrange one of those, man.
I've got another idea we could do.
Yeah.
We could do an in-universe episode of our spin-off podcast. We could do known sense offender John Preston.
Sense offender John.
That's good, man. That was it. Yeah, sense offender. That was
like
it.
Well,
sense offender.
Wow, sorry, we really digressed.
That was a little bit of a meander, which is something that we are known for.
But now I've said that.
Here we go.
Now I want everyone to look out for it when they watch films, and because think about it, like there's things that have to happen in order for something else to happen in the movie, and when it doesn't happen, or when it doesn't feel right, or when it just feels wonky, and the end of Snowpiercer was super wonky for me.
Super wonky. You heard it here
Fair
first,
enough.
folks. But yeah, speaking about like known sense offenders, obviously, if they get caught, they get processed. The rule of law would dictate that they need to, go in front of a judge, a jury, what have you, and appear in court. And we had a court appearance of our own on the SuperShow. I am, of course.
Did,
yeah, I am, of course, talking about the Crispy Court. Chris versus Jamie in the matter of are cheesy jalapeno Walker's Max Crisps bangers? Do they slap? Are they among the cream of the crop when it comes to crisps, or chips, depending on which country you are from, adjudicated by the Right Honourable Mr. Alex Jones.
I'm going to go a little bit unorthodox here. I'm going to ask if Judge Jonesy would be willing to preside over a case. The People versus Chris Joanidis.
Yeah, I think I know where this is going.
Do you?
I really do.
Judge Jonesy,
there's a reason why I think I know.
Could I present to the audience Exhibit A?
Yes.
Go on.
Exhibit A I have in my possession is an empty bag of Walker's Max Strong, perfect with beer, jalapeno and cheese, flavour potato crisps. Extra hot.
Oh, so good.
The crisps so good, in fact, that Exhibit B, Chris Jones, I don't know why he's an exhibit rather than like a suspect or a defendant or something, brought them to the fore of the conversation a few weeks ago. You told us that you were stockpiling them in some form. Is that right, Chris?
Yes, I have eaten all of them now.
How many bags
all the
would you
ones
say
that
you've
I've
eaten?
stockpiled, I've just eaten them.
How many bags would you say you've eaten overall?
Of those big bags?
6, maybe.
Of that giant bag that
bags.
Jamie had?
Yeah.
It's fair to say, Judge Jonesy, that Chris is trying to convince the good audience of this podcast that these are S-tier crisps, that these are as good as they get. Is that a fair assumption, Your Honour?
I would say so, yeah.
And so the case that I would like to present to Judge Jonesy and the jury that is the I almost called us all time gaming, the SuperShow audience. Wow, God, that's like 18 months of shit.
I feel like you're drawing this out just to say something, so just say it.
They're not that good.
Oh, you scumbag. You absolute scumbag.
All right, I need to consider all the evidence, though, so could you please hold up Exhibit A again?
Exhibit A's on the floor, Your Honour, and I can't be bothered.
All right, from memory, I'm going to say that was an empty bag of Max Strong jalapeno and cheese crisps.
Yes.
Ah.
Is it empty?
It is empty, Your Honour.
And that is a rather big bag. So
I'm a rather big guy.
You're telling me that you ate that entire bag of crisps you didn't really enjoy?
Your Honour, I would like to pose a question. I would like to...
This has pangs of telling someone in a restaurant you didn't like the meal.
Your Honour, I would like to ask you a question. As a man of faith, would you ever open a bag of crisps that size, find them to be slightly underwhelming based on what you were led to believe, and let them go dry or go stale, or throw them away? Your Honour, would a man of faith like you let these crisps go to waste, or would you eat them like honourable men do?
No, I would let them go dry and stale.
All right, yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to pull out the Phoenix Richer and say, objection! Okay, because you did eat them all. You did eat them all. Not only that, you preserved that packet.
Well, that's because I thought it would be a funny bit. I'll push it along.
The packet is, Your Honour, the packet is unripped. The packet has been, for all intents and purposes, enshrined.
Do you know what it was? If there was like a little bit of the bottom, this much of the bottom of the bag had like little chip bits still in it, I would, and it had gone a bit stale, I would have said, then fair enough. But because you,
this is the issue.
Did you do this one?
No, I didn't. Sorry, do that again.
Don't do it.
One more time. Just do it for longer this time, with your tongue out.
No,
and use
because
the
if
other
you
hand to
tip the crumbs, if you tip the crumbs,
I did not tip the crumbs. There are some crumbs in that bag. I'm not going to demonstrate. And do you know why there's no little, remnants of what used to be at the bottom of the bag? It's because I did the thing we all do, which is I decided to play games and eat crisps at the same time, which resulted in sort of a loop that would cycle maybe like every 2 to 3 minutes, where I'd go over, take a handful, bite, taste, go, oh, that's spicy. Go back to my game, forget that they were spicy, and then go back to them.
Yeah, so this is where I come in, okay? Because my Exhibit A is on my phone, but I can't show you now because it's personal and private. But Jamie asked me in a WhatsApp message, but Chris, how hot are they? Do you think that I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, do you think that a scrub of a man,
Objection. Trying to lead the witness.
A lightweight when it comes to all things piquant. Do you think that I would be able to contain the flavour within this packet of crisps? And I said, you know what, Jamie? I think you would. I find them a little bit hot, but nothing that I can't handle, and I think you can handle them too. Now, I present to the court that, in fact, Jamie could not handle the heat. He could not handle the heat, and that's why he did not enjoy those crisps. And as a way of getting back at me for assuming that he had the mental and physical fortitude to enjoy a Scoville level above 5, that's right, because he's a lightweight, that he is trying to, make this public forum to try and discredit me and my chip tastes.
I'm sorry, but that doesn't really hold water with me either, because Jamie's finished the pack. If he couldn't handle the heat, he wouldn't have finished the pack.
However, sir, or judge,
the undoing of Jamie's evidence, the empty pack, is also the undoing of your very premise that he couldn't handle the heat.
Yes, Judge Jonesy.
He did handle the heat.
Allow me to present to you Exhibit C. Do you see what this is?
No.
Thin air? It's like nothing.
It's nothing. And do you know why it's nothing? Because we have no evidence that Jamie actually ate those crisps himself.
I don't know about that. I find Jamie's an honourable.
I'd like permission to bring another witness to the stand. Adding to the Discord call, Steph. No, I'm joking.
I think the only thing for it then, Your Honour, is it's come down to a he said, she said.
It actually hasn't. The court actually has one other way of clarifying this issue, and will be decided next week. Because we will adjourn until next week, the 69th episode, and the judge himself will procure a pack of said crisps and try them and decide whether or not.
But hold on, because I'm calling mistrial here.
I'll be impartial. I'll be impartial.
You've just admitted that A, you don't like hot crisps. B, you don't like ridgy crisps. It's stacked against me. What I'm proposing is that the audience lets us know.
I was going to say, open this up to the jury and say anyone based in the UK, try and procure a packet of these jalapeno and cheese Walkers Max, as well as Jonesy.
I do welcome your opinion next week.
Yeah, I think Jonesy should do it too.
Okay, and we'll use a mixture of the jury in the comments below, and my own opinion. No, well, I think I can be impartial, Chris. I think I can try and assess the flavour profile and decide whether or not you're right or wrong, even though they're not my sort of go-to. Because I like spicy food and I like jalapeno and I like cheddar. So hopefully,
fellas, talk to me.
I can't. Can you remind me of what I can't quite remember who was on what side of this argument. Can you?
I said they were bangers. Jamie says that they were nice, but they were nothing special. And you adjudicated and you sided with Jamie. And I will never forgive you.
I'm pretty sure you said they were the greatest crisp. You like the best.
That was Chris's downfall. Yeah. Too hot.
No, it wasn't too hot because it was completely subjective. You see, what you are doing is you are falling into the whole fucking game review trap. It's subjective, so I can't be wrong, fellas. I said I thought they were the best crisps that I had ever tasted, and it still rings true because you know what? In any opportunity I had, I was fucking scoffing down on those chippies. But unfortunately, I don't. Our American friends and friends further abroad than Fortress Britain might not know this, but we have a crisp shortage in the country. And this is not a joke. Yeah, don't you know this?
I don't know.
Jamie, you must know this.
I have seen this, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, what happened, and this is not a fucking joke, even though we are a bunch of jokers who, probably unreliable narrators at this point, but this is 100% true. So Walkers, the company that make all the crisps here, the major manufacturer, in fact, they are the largest manufacturer of crisps in the world, especially here in the UK. They updated their IT infrastructure, and they had a bit of a bug in terms of their IT rollout, and it kind of fucked everything up, and their capacity got diminished drastically. So what they've had to do is focus on purely the most popular flavors. So you're talking about like your salt and vinegar, your kind of like ready salted.
Who's eating ready salted out of choice?
Well, I mean, if you got the dips, you go ready salted, right? Because you don't want to like.
No, but not
you
with
don't
Walkers.
go Walkers.
No one's dipping a Walkers, bro.
Yeah, that's
Come on.
madness.
But this is
that's
the
going
thing.
to break immediately as soon as you try and put it in.
This is the
Say
thing.
cheese
This is
and
what they've been
onion.
focusing on, and not only that. If you look at Doritos, the ones that they're pumping out in terms of their like diminished things, so they have to select which brands they go, and they go for the most popularly sold brands. So on the Doritos front, all you've
Cheese.
got is nacho cheese and
The best.
Chili Heatwave?
Cool Ranch, no chili heat wave.
Chili
So,
Heatwave is the worst of the
I
three.
can say that my personal supply of Chili Heatwave at 2 separate establishments has not been affected.
No, that like when I say
Yes,
that they,
because you're the only one who eats them.
I like the way you say it as well. Like they're fucking drug dealers. They're kind of like, I've got chili heat wave here. Yeah. Oh, he's got some there. There we go. Yeah. No, look, there will be some of that stuff, but and I don't know how far they are in kind of like fixing up all this stuff, but it is kind of ridiculous. And I think like when it comes to crisps, they are my biggest kind of like snack that I ever like. I always default to like a nice pack of crisps, whatever it may
They're
be.
good. Yeah.
They're godly even. But yeah,
It's interesting.
crispy
I never
corn.
ever.
I feel like I was robbed, fellas, quite frankly. And
You had the same. Do you know what? I almost feel like, in some sense, your issue with Crispy Court was a parallel to mine with the PlayStation controller, because you went, they are the best crisp, which is a very tall, lofty goal. I said the controller will not work at all. And again, it's a very lofty goal.
Yeah.
Jamie has got so much grey area that he can play around with in that space. So I
Yeah.
think that it was a
Yeah.
tricky one to
See,
go with.
Chris was GameSpot 10 out of 10, and I was 7 out of 10 IGN. Except instead of too much water, it was too much heat, too much spice.
much spice.
Too much spice. I'm not a fan of the spicy crisp in general. honestly.
Not where you have to take a pause because it's too hot.
Yeah, I'm not usually either, but there's something about it's like fucking it's crack for me, fellas. It's like
They were
fucking
good.
catnip. You put like I want it's crazy. I'm fucking mental about them.
It's fair enough. I also just want to say that, like, in the spirit of reminiscing, there is a part of me that finds it hilarious that we sat, us three and a few others, in a meeting room months before even all-time gaming was born, all the way back in 2015, and had a conversation about the potential for a strand or a series of videos wherein two people argued different sides of a debate, and one person sat in the middle, acted as a judge, heard both arguments, and submitted their final thoughts.
That
and
could have been one of the strands on all-time gaming. Multiple
it could've-
times throughout all-time gaming's life, we kind of circled back around that idea.
And I was just saying it's ironic that the only time we've ever actually done it, in theory, it was about crisps. So I think that says a lot about us.
I think that's the only way we could have done it, to be fair.
Maybe we just need to pivot in general, just scrap the whole thing we've been building.
Yeah,
Make a
maybe
crisp channel.
fuck off known murderers and just go for Crispy Court. Each week a different flavor.
Can't do that. Oh, do you know what would win for me if I had to pick I don't even know what they're called anymore. The original Cheetos, like the proper Cheetos,
Like the knick-knack Cheetos.
Yes, they are.
The crunchy ones, though.
But see,
Yeah,
this
not
is
the baked
thing.
ones.
No, but this is the thing. I don't know what they are now, because I used to have them when I was a kid, and like in America, and they were just called Cheetos. Now, they have them in the UK. They are not the same.
Yeah,
They might call them crunchy, they might call them knobbly, but they're not the same as I used to get when I was a kid. And if you import them from America, they are the same. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
still.
it's
But-
because of the ingredients probably outlawed, at least when the UK was still in the EU. The EU would definitely have outlawed all of those fucking food additives.
Brexit, just so that we can get the real Cheetos back.
Because like looking at the Cheetos website, there are Cheetos Crunchy, there are Cheetos Puffs, there are Cheetos Paws, there's Cheetos Popcorn, there's a Crunch Pop Mix.
Oh, Cheetos popcorn. I bet that's well nice, because cheese popcorn is really tasty.
I think the one you like, Jonesy, is either Cheetos Crunchy or Cheetos Flamin' Hot Crunchy.
It's not flaming hot. It's got to be the crunchy.
But
it's got to be the crunchy.
Jonesy's right. Like the kind of genetic makeup of it is wrong in the UK compared to what it is in the States.
I would agree with that. And you know what bums me out about that is that the only time I bought Cheetos when I was in the States was when we went there for E3, and I bought the Flamin' Hot variety to go with my Subway sandwich, and it was too spicy. And much like with your crisp, Chris, I had to take a break every few like mouthfuls and just like let my mouth go back to zero, and that was not fun.
Well, fine, fair enough.
That's not.
Well, you know, this is where you went wrong, Jamie, because when you were in the States, you should have gone to the Cheesecake Factory.
I should have done a lot of things, and the Cheesecake Factory is top amongst that list.
Joining me today is average cheese enjoyer Alex Jones and superior cake enthusiast Jamie. How you doing, fellas?
The best title I've ever received, maybe in my entire life. Thank you.
I was going to do a voice from what I thought average cheesecake liker Alex Jones would sound like, but I can't be bothered. I've never been to Cheesecake Factory as well.
Oh, mate, it's quality. Let me tell you, it's so good. I know it's probably not so good, but when
they even exist in this country?
No, I went to the States. When I went to the States on my California road trip.
Cheesecake Factory.
It's good. It's like actually decent food, and then of course they've got the fucking added benefit of having like 50 cheesecakes.
But here's the thing: is it actually a factory? Is there some processing plant attached to every restaurant with like a production line of cheesecakes being made?
I'd love it. You walk in, then you'd be like, yeah, this looks like Factorio. Yeah, cool. Or Satisfactory. Yeah, cool. Let's go.
You could just open Cheesecake Kitchen, and then that would be the better version, because you don't want a factory cheesecake if you can have a kitchen cheesecake.
I think once we hit a certain amount on our Patreon, we are going to abandon the podcast and just open the Cheesecake Kitchen. And the whole USP would be we are there every single day from like opening time to closing time. And people can come in, enjoy their cheesecake in the kitchen, and we're just talking shit like we usually do, as if we're on a podcast. So it's almost like, you know, like these immersive theater productions. It's like immersive podcasting. I mean, let's put the cheesecake aside for 1 second, Jamie.
Do we have to? Like, just kind of starting to get into the whole cheesecake thing, actually.
All right, fine. What's your favorite cheese? Like, because you got to understand. You got to understand, right? Cheesecake Factory has a list, like a very like. Imagine you open up a menu, and on both sides of the page is just like different variations of cheesecake. So what would be your like ideal situation?
See, this is where I'm really going to let the cheesecake enthusiasts in the audience down, which is that like I'm really fucking boring when it comes to cheesecake. I don't want it to be overly vanilla-y.
Okay.
Vanilla-y. Yeah.
Vanilla-y.
Sure. I don't want it to be overly lemony. I don't want a lemon cheesecake. I don't particularly care for baked cheesecakes either.
Okay.
I can tolerate a strawberry cheesecake.
So what? You're like a fridge cheesecake then, yeah?
Well, yeah. What I'm basically saying is, I think that sometimes it's referred to over here at least as a New York cheesecake. It's just a regular cheesecake with It's basically like cream cheese and sugar, with no other real flavor in it. Probably a bit of vanilla extract. Well, you put a face, but that's what. It's a strange day in the life and the evolution of a human, when you realise that cheesecake is cheese. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really want to, I don't know, a pudding that tastes just like cheese sounds weird.
It doesn't taste, are you saying you've never had cheesecake?
No, I've had cheesecake, but it's always like chocolate or lemon or something. But if you're going for the cheese flavour.
All right, do me a favour. Put your retrospective goggles on. Cast your mind back to when you had that lemon cheesecake, right?
Right.
Do you think if you remove the lemon flavour profile from that dish, it would taste like cheese?
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm worried now about how it would taste. Maybe it would be better.
Nah.
I've just looked at the menu for Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, hit us up with some selections. Come on.
Well, see, one of the things that's blown my mind is there is a section for desserts, but there's also sections for small plates, snacks, appetizers, salads, flatbread pizzas, lunch specials, burgers.
Yeah, no, it's like
this
a
is not
proper
what I was
restaurant.
expecting.
And the food is nice. And obviously,
am I going to eat anything from a place called Cheesecake Factory that isn't cheesecake? Hell no. Because I know one thing, they do not know their ass from their elbow when it comes to salads or a burger or a sandwich. I'm not touching that.
I think the English equivalent to that is when you go to a fish and chip shop that for some reason has a Chinese takeaway in the exact same building, the exact same menu, and you're run by the exact same people, and you're like, hang on a second, are you frying your sweet and sour chicken in the exact same oil as the fish?
It's like those corner chicken shops. They're like, fried chicken, but also pizza, hamburgers, ribs, wonton.
All of the above.
Weird, man.
Yeah.
The original. Do you want to hear what the original cheesecake is from the Cheesecake Factory?
Yes, of course.
So it's creamy cheesecake with a graham cracker. That's what it says. Isn't it? graham cracker crust and
This is
sour
my
cream
buddy
topping.
Graham Cracker.
Well, it's Graham. We don't say Graham.
No, Jonesy, it's graham cracker the same way it's Laura Croft, okay?
No, it's spelt Graham. They just don't say Graham.
No, it's Graham. It's Graham and Laura.
No, it isn't.
Totally is.
You're insane. But no, this does not sound good.
What have I done to us?
Tastes of cheese, and it's got sour cream on top.
Yeah, it's quality, dude.
And Graham's made a cracker
The
for the bottom.
cheesecakes don't taste like cheese. They're just made with cheese predominantly.
Right.
Yeah, they're just kind of
We
like
need to
it's
set
just
up-
the creaminess, right? Like, I'll tell you what, I do, because you haven't answered my question, Jamie, so I'm just going to have to fucking steamroll in and say my
shit.
ideal cheesecake would probably be some kind of a pina colada mixed with some passion fruit. I think that would be absolutely divine.
Let me jump in and just say my wife does make a killer Bailey's cheesecake,
This is interesting because we've been
really good.
We've been saying maybe we've got to come over for a barbecue.
Barbecue.
And I think when you have a barbecue, you've got to have some form
Cheesecake.
of a dessert, right?
I don't really eat cheesecake, so so her Bailey's cheesecake is good, but I don't really eat cheesecake apart from that, which is why I'm so confused by all this different types of cheesecake.
Hang on.
So I'm going to leave it and say my favorite is the Bailey's cheesecake, but the original cheesecake sounds gross.
These Cheesecake Factory lot are con artists.
Why?
So they do pizzas, right? And they've got a pizza called the Everything Pizza. And the Everything Pizza has pepperoni, sausage, peppers, onions, and mushrooms. And that's it. That's not everything. That's not even all the meats.
Hell yeah.
Not too spicy.
Fucking Cheesecake Factory. I could wax lyrical on cheesecake as well. Cheesecake Court, anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, looking through that menu and learning about the sheer depths, the dark, dank depths of the Cheesecake Factory was a life-changing and eye-opening experience for me.
Oh yeah. Like I'm tempted to just say like, let's just fly to LA and just do a travelogue, a food blog just on the different cheesecake factories.
Yes, I
feel
could
like
order chicken taquitos.
What? You don't be ordering chicken from a cheesecake place?
I might order a glam burger. I'm doing it again. I'm just looking at the Cheesecake Factory menu.
Yeah.
How are we back here?
Yeah, this was
Skinny
a weird.
delicious.
This was a very strange aside. Sometimes I'd wonder if people think that these are premeditated, that we actually say like, oh, we're going to have a 15-minute discussion about this random thing to fill out the show. No, it's organic. It's completely organic. Chris suddenly started talking about cheesecake.
Yeah,
and I couldn't get off of it.
In that particular instance, it was me just kind of.
You were hungry. Let's just put it out there. This
I
is
was.
what's
Well,
going
I'm
on.
always hungry. Okay, like that's my secret. Cap. I'm always hungry. No, it was like it wasn't pre-planned by you guys, but it was certainly pre-planned by me because I just wanted, much like you do, Jonesy, when you were like, oh, I'll write an intro. I was like, well, I'm not fucking writing an intro. My whole thing is I just fucking wing it. But I wanted to kind of like, I just wanted to talk about cheesecake. And, that's how it goes. It's like the thing that I always kind of go to is like when I say, all right, if you could be any delicious meat-based product, what would you be?
That's a classic right there.
That is classic.
That's a classic Chris, is what that is. And the answer is sausage roll. I mean, I would say biltong, but like you guys aren't really like
Do you know what I'll go for? Pork pie.
pork
Do you
pie.
know what
But
I'm gonna
why
go
go for a pork pie when you can have a sausage roll?
Because
I
pork
agree
pie's
with
better.
Chris, actually. Sausage rolls are better than pork
Oh,
pies. I am candied bacon.
I'm going to say the
Ooh.
range of sausage roll, because sausage rolls can be incredible, but I'm going to say that if you have to average it out, so you've got the most incredible sausage rolls here, the worst sausage rolls here, the average sausage roll is not as good as the average pork pie.
Yeah, but pork pies are only ever in the average band.
No, you can get an incredible pork pie.
No, you could get some shit pork pies.
I think the ceiling for a sausage roll is much higher, personally.
Oh, big time, big time.
Elite sausage rolls are on another level.
Oh yeah.
Hey, that is a good point. I tried the vegan one from Greg's once. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, everyone I've heard that's tried it has come away with like pretty positive things to say about it.
Yeah.
Greg's is like a savoury pastry place, I guess, for anyone that doesn't know.
How many vegans do they have to grind up to put into the sausage roll?
More's never enough. You can come in.
Wow.
One whole vegan ground up and put into a sausage roll.
Do you ever think that when you're ordering, like if you go to a chicken restaurant, for example, and only order wings, that, like, in a cruel way, you're maximizing the amount of birds that have to be killed for your one meal.
No, you don't need to worry about it, Jamie, because what happens is they genetically modify the chickens to have multiple wings.
See, you joke, but the thing is, I'm so fucked up that I'd be down for that. But, like, if you go to a restaurant and have 2 breasts, that's one bird on your plate. If I get 10 wings, the 5 chickens had to die for my food. That's kind of messed up.
You're making me feel bad about the time that we went to Pasiank and just ordered all you could eat
bucket of wings.
Yeah, like literally 50 wings.
There was I genuinely had a conversation
100 dead
with
chickens.
Yeah, 50 wings per person.
Christ. Someone said to me, 25.
25, but you got to go the other way.
You went the wrong way. But someone said to me, KFC have genetically modified chickens that have 4 legs, and I was like, why? And because then they can make more KFC out of the chickens. I was like, why wouldn't they just buy 2 chickens?
Like, it's probably cheaper.
It's cheaper. Chickens are going to be like pennies when you consider, like, to somewhere like KFC. They're not paying like $5.
Yeah, you see that's always the argument. Bother? It's cheaper to just you're right. It's cheaper to just incubate another egg than it is to genetically modify a chicken to have 4 legs, like a little fucking chicken dog, like a chicken centaur. Like, come on, this is ridiculous.
Colonel Sanders, we've got you 2 chickens here for your 4 legs. I don't want that. I want 1 chicken, 4 legs. Do it.
1 chicken, 4 legs.
Make it happen.
There was that story, of course, saying that they. Maybe genetically modify is too strong a word, CRISPR, but there was that rumor that what they do to the chickens is they feed them a specific kind of like mixture, whatever it is, to make their breasts enlarged, super saggy, so they drag on the ground, and that's why you get the jumbo breasts.
Right.
See, that's where I do start to get into slightly weird territory, and I'll be honest, I've experienced this more with wings than I have with breasts, but sometimes you get a wing that is so large, so almost abnormally large. And if you imagine like the drum rather than the flap.
Yeah.
And when you almost take a bite into it, and it's almost like it's not just pure flesh, there's like other things in there, and it feels like it's like different bits, like all kind of
tendons.
Like, you're just like, this doesn't feel like a nice, pure sort of like, you've gone bigger in a way that's not better. KFC in the UK does that quite a lot with their wings. Like, it's almost like it's too much. Yeah. Like, and it doesn't feel real anymore.
Do you ever get that where it's like 90% batter?
Yes,
like
KFC do that all the time.
Batter thing. There's this little wing right in the middle.
Like, it's so much batter that you can't. It's sometimes even hard to tell whether it's a drum or a flap because the bone end of the drum is so fat. It's like almost like one solid lump, and you're just like, great. There's some meat in there somewhere.
You guys have just reminded me how great it was that when we were at the start of SuperShow, when we were filming in person, you guys would come over to my place, and then we'd record in the morning / early noon, and then we'd go for lunch at Wingman's, which is a nice buffalo wing restaurant around the corner.
That was really good. Yeah,
feels like a lifetime ago.
Man, tell me about it. Well, 100 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, guess it was in a weird way, but just like I can't even imagine doing that journey anymore. Going to the house, eating that meal, like, just also foreign.
It is pretty foreign. But, you could say that, like, we've seen the pitfalls in that kind of thing. We know what could go wrong, and we can kind of like understand, hey, you just don't do this. You just don't do this. And, you can streamline the process and you can make it better than what it was, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But, it seems that some game developers didn't get the memo. Because as much as we started off this podcast talking about Cyberpunk 2077 in Peter Wilson's comment, of course, we'd be remiss to not include Marvel's Avengers and, the other high-profile failure during our tenure as the Super Show. And this one comes courtesy of our very own Alex Jones. Surprise, surprise.
I don't think this was my analogy. I think it was Jamie's, and then I. Well,
it was fucking one of yours.
I can't quite remember.
It was fucking one of yours.
This is more just giving me PTSD about the fact that I think over the course of 100 episodes and just shy of 2 years, Marvel's Avengers somehow became, maybe overtaken by Cyberpunk in the end, but probably one of, if not the single most discussed game by us ever. Because all three of us played the beta in different weeks.
Yeah.
Jonesy and I then played the launch version on different weeks. It was in the news for weeks. There was Game Pass, there was Spider-Man, there was Hawkeye, and there were
Wakanda.
there were like Wakanda microtransactions being taken in, and now like so many things that made the news. It's just like it was the game that never went away.
Yeah, it's like the
quite shake.
horse with the broken leg that just keeps on trying to get up. Just get the shotgun out.
It's like video game gonorrhea.
We did everything we could to make this game a success. I'm talking about it at length, but
Keeping it in the SEO, baby. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But yeah, this discussion was all about kind of, hey, Destiny, Diablo, all these games as a services, they had the blueprint and they had the stumbling blocks as well, where
Yes.
things weren't working well for them, but they managed to turn it around. So in other words, they knew the downfall, they overcame the downfall, they kind of redefined the blueprint. And what happens? Destiny 2 comes out. Follow the fucking blueprint. You know, and Marvel Avengers.
I don't want to reignite any arguments, but I stand by most of what I said with regards to, I think there are so many pitfalls in that subgenre, or when it comes to those mechanics and those ideas, that I think game companies are running out of excuses for falling into the same traps as their predecessors, and that's exactly what Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix did. And I genuinely still believe that.
And it's not going to be the last time either, fellas. I can tell you that much.
No, that's what bums me out. Like the next sequel, like, we'll probably get a Division 3 that will do everything that the first two divisions did wrong. You know, like, yeah.
I think it's when we were talking about this. I think my main point here was I don't like the idea of following, the path that other people have done it right to be the death of innovation. And do you know what? If I had to sort of say, if I had to pick something that actually backs it up, because I think the analogy we used at the time was like if you're running down a track and there are holes, then it's easy to not fall into the holes because people have already done it. But there is something, boys, that tries relentlessly to change again and again and again, even though it's already been successful, and it doesn't need to try and change again and again. And 99.9% of the time it fails. And every now and then it is a massive success, and then it gets better and better and better. I'm, of course, talking about
SuperShow.
Evolution is what I'm talking about. You have a successful organism that lives in an environment, and it's perfectly fine. It's doing it great. Evolution keeps dropping in mutations in there, and the vast majority of them are shit, and the animal that will come out of it will die. But every now and then, you get a positive mutation. And because it was something new, novel, that wasn't tried before, the animal adapts. And then what happens? The environment changes, and suddenly the thing that you thought was great, your Destiny 2 or your Diablo or whatever, isn't right for the environment anymore. And you are then grateful for all these mutated little bastards running around who you thought weren't very good, but suddenly that's all that's left. That's all that survived. Jamie and Chris, unfortunately, you are dinosaurs. And you're going to get wiped out when the environment
I think
changes.
this is I think I'm thinking of the right thing. I'm not great with evolution and all that stuff like that.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, that
it's a great movie.
But like when someone who is clearly really fucking stupid, does something that either threatens or in some cases even ends their life, we jokingly give them an award that we refer to as the Darwin Award.
Darwin Award,
right?
yeah.
And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea is that they're so stupid they've essentially taken themselves out of they've lost the what's the thing?
Take themselves out of the gene pool.
They've taken themselves out of the gene pool, and the survival of the fittest thing has kicked in, and great. But if we're going to use an evolution thing, an evolution analogy with Marvel's Avengers, didn't Marvel's Avengers die and win the Darwin Award, and we're just laughing at it?
Yeah.
Yes,
it's a bad thing. So it's still a negative thing.
100%.
No, it did. You're right. But my point being that we shouldn't be surprised that the majority of those things might fail and then die. But if you didn't have those games where did get it wrong, you wouldn't also have the games that actually get it insanely right. If everything just followed the same formula and said, well, this game did it right. And this was my point before. If every game was like, well, this game did it right, so I'm going to copy that game. What you actually end up doing is, and this has happened numerous times in evolutionary history, is you get something which is insanely specialized for its environment because it's just an improvement on an improvement on an improvement, like the dinosaurs is a great example. And you end up with these insanely specialized animals like a dinosaur, and suddenly the environment changes and they can simply not survive anymore, and you need a new thing. And that's what I think you need that with games as well. I don't like the idea of you always follow this path and you go do exactly what everyone else
This is almost the opposite though. Sorry, Jamie, this is almost the opposite, Jonesy, because this and I think this is the pitfall that you kind of fell in the last time we discussed this. Was
I said you should fall in some pitfalls. Yeah, I said sometimes it'll be good.
Yeah. But this is where you're wrong.
Fruit.
This is where you're wrong, okay? Because you're saying, no, fall into the pit because you want to have the chance that, hey, you jump into the pit and you discover something else and it's not such a big kind of fucking problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. 100%.
Not jump into the pit. The analogy was like it should be easy for game developers to jump over those pitfalls because they know they've seen other games do the same thing and go,
yeah, but what we're saying is instead of jumping over the big gaping fucking maw in front of them, you just put a sign saying, don't jump over this. And all you do is you hook a right and you just go somewhere else. Which is the sentiment that you're trying to make.
No, the entire argument was like you should just copy what other people have done when they've done it right.
It's the opposite. Don't copy the things where people have fucked up.
No, here's the other thing. Even if we accept the version of it that Jonesy just presented, I still stand by it. Because again, like I don't want to rehash the specifics of the arguments around Marvel's Avengers, but there were specifics around the way that game was at launch and decisions it made with monetization with its storefront. They should not have done those things based on the fact that they went wrong for other people. Yes, I do 100% believe that. They would be better off for learning the lessons that other people fucked up for. Because, like, do you know what else it feels like sometimes? It feels like the bridge sequence in Squid Game. And you know that moment where the protagonist has kind of taken his eye off the game for so long, they actually can't remember which of the first two panels to step on. And the chick has to turn around and be like, it's the right one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Marvel's Avengers were there. They'd taken their eye off the ball and it was like, shit, what if we fall down the hole that Diablo made? Just don't fall down the hole. And guess what? If you don't fall down the hole Diablo made, you get further along the bridge.
I think the issue though with like Marvel's Avengers that we said at the time was it's because it isn't Diablo. It's not easy to just say, just don't do that. Because you eventually end up saying, well, just make Diablo. Like if that's really what you want to do, if you really
I disagree because I think we're talking about like tiny enough minutiae of the way that game was monetized.
You think the things they did wrong were so easy to overcome that it's bizarre that they did them wrong. Whereas what I think is that they were trying to do something different and they got it wrong. But that doesn't mean that the next game that tries to do something different shouldn't try and do something different because they're scared of doing it wrong.
I still disagree. All these months, I still fundamentally disagree. I think what you're suggesting leads to us making excuses for more companies making the same mistakes. And I think frustratingly, we're talking about mistakes in an area of games in the area of the games industry that costs us the consumers money and delivers subpar products. So the fact that you're not an advocate for change, I don't.
I don't think they should make this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they should make the same mistakes again and again. That's just fucking stupid. Like if you can see that if you know something is bad and people don't like it, don't.
Some of the things you're saying sounds like that's what you think.
No,
you're
not
an
at all.
advocate for making the same mistakes.
No, I haven't said that at all. I've just said trying something different. You don't have to copy because I think you guys both said before.
Yeah, but you know what?
You know how to do it because you can copy what that game's done. It's like that is bad.
If you're in math class and you copy the smartest person in the room, you're going to get identical scores. But you know what? That score will be fucking high. I don't care if Diablo 3, Destiny, and Marvel's Avengers all end up being really fucking similar. If they were all good as well, great. I'm playing 3 very good video games, benefiting from the fact that they learnt from each other's mistakes.
But that's a great example, though. So you've come out of school, you've scored an A star, you've smashed every exam, you can't do anything on your own because all you've done for your entire schooling is copy other people. You don't know anything. Whereas the kid who sat there chewing his pencil and didn't even write any answers on the paper, completely failed school, but now he goes out, starts his own business, launches a game developer, and is the
But then you've got another
Bill
issue
Gates.
though. Then you've got
You're
another
sitting
issue
there
because
going,
because the more accurate version of the analogy is that Marvel's Avengers, Destiny, and Diablo aren't sitting next to each other in the same year. They're actually multiple years apart, and have all already for Marvel's Avengers, Diablo and Destiny have already graduated and are years ahead of them, so they can continue copying them because they're always going to be behind them. It's like the piano teacher that only needs to stay one lesson ahead of their pupil.
But then this idea that you can just copy what other people have done, and then that's great.
Sorry, Jonesy,
every game should just copy what everyone's doing, and then that's going to create like an innovative, interesting gaming mark. You keep because I know you're trying to bring it back
Jonesy,
to Marvel's Avengers every time.
I hate to interrupt, but I think we've inadvertently stumbled upon another, shall we say, iconic element of the Super Show's 100%.
Some might say
so
the
far.
most iconic fucking.
Is Chris
element.
going to sleep?
No, it's you two just fucking going at it like fucking rabid dogs, and it's going around in circles again and 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 again. You're talking about the same things you were talking about like 10 minutes ago.
That's true. We should cut all that because we've already got it in the clip.
Also, very possibly, depending on how
place.
this video gets put together, we could also potentially be doing it right after they listen to some portion of the original version as well, which is even worse.
That's really boring, yeah. Apologies.
But no, I just love that Chris did the trademark. Chris, I know it doesn't play for audio listeners, but you did the lean back. Can we see again?
Yeah.
Like, it's the lean back. I'll describe it.
And sometimes it's like,
Do you know what I liked?
Hands behind the head.
I
lean
liked
back.
first.
There we go.
Was he got the wine glass and he tipped it upside down and drained every last drop out of it.
Yeah, like, please.
Yeah, anything to quell the boredom that comes from listening to those debates.
You know what? Yes, there is an element of boredom, but I wouldn't change it for the world because you know what? This is our DNA. This is built into us. This is who we are. Okay, we are scum, really. Some might even call us morons, which I think, Jamie, you called Jonesy a moron at one stage. Felt a bit bad, apparently. But
I don't even remember what show this was in.
it was after some argument. But the point is this, fellas. I think these arguments are good to have. I do think that they get a little bit too fucking cyclical. And someone even said that, I wait for the end of the fucking argument only to then chime in with another fucking point, which then kind of sets you off. So it's not like, I'm fucking complicit here, fellas. It
actually happens as well the other way around, where you and Jamie argue, but I don't think as many people have flagged up. There have definitely been a few occasions where I've just had to sit there and listen to you guys go into town.
Why am I never the one that sits and listens?
I don't know.
Big mouth. Big mouth. Clearly, as Chris reminded me just then, which I still apologise for because I think that arguing about video games is fun and silly. And calling someone a word like that is not
a
word like that. What, a moron?
Also, let's not get it twisted. I'm not going to say I do it on purpose to get Jamie to that point, but there's definitely a part of me where I like to poke the bear, and I know that if I can get him to that point.
Oh no, it's the perfect storm, right? Because it's almost like fucking the personalities are all set up in the right way for this kind of thing to happen. You talk about evolution. It's all the fucking the melting pots for this to happen are here. Okay, we've got Jonesy. Okay, you were very contrarian. Okay, and you also like exactly, and you also like to instigate. Okay, Jamie is someone who doesn't like to back down from his opinions. Okay, and then you've got me who kind of I don't know. I kind of get into it, but then I lose interest, and I kind of I'm like Santu Hummingbird. I'm like Santu Hummingbird, right? Fucking flutter in. Yeah. Okay, flutter back. Don't give a shit anymore. Oh, what's that? Oh, okay. No. Fuck. I don't know. I would just say that the thing that makes the Super Show work, and I say work in a loose term because obviously we're losing viewers on YouTube, so clearly it's not working. But the thing that makes it work for some people is our personalities and how different they are on some fundamental levels, but also how similar they are on others. And I think it's that heady mixture that keeps people not coming back unless you're a particular type of person, and then you do come back. Right?
I'd like to think so.
That's where the magic happens, in between the lines of these three personalities. Hell yeah.
Between the panels.
Between the...
Do you remember that? Do you remember the film Super?
No.
No, that's a really obscure reference. I shouldn't have made it. But yeah, it's like a thing where like
an anti-superhero film.
Yeah, but like they have some whole like thing about like it's the more interesting stuff about superheroes is what happens between the panels, like when they're not doing superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Which is to say that I think now's the best time to reveal our alter egos. We're obviously not superheroes, but we are all vigilantes.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I'm joking.
Yeah. No. Well, partly joking. We are vigilantes. We are influencer vigilantes, as it were. Because we don't take shit from influencers, and we will call out anyone.
Yeah.
For their bad. We have bad takes. We have trash opinions, but the thing is, we own up to it. We know it. We brand ourselves with that fucking identity. We fucking the smoldering iron fucking sear it into our raw hide. But some people like to think they're above that, don't they?
Yes.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Well done for taking the fucking cue, fucking dillhole. It's right there in front of you, in the podcast document. I am, of course, talking about not being afraid to shit on people, punching above our weight, on people that probably won't even feel it. We are the mosquitoes to their giants, and I am talking about some people kind of liked it when we take the piss out of Matt Pat and Troy Baker, people who we can kind of admire on the one hand, and on the other hand say, you're full of shit, buddy.
I feel like Troy Baker was the one. I think like Matt Pat got a couple of like digs and we were just sort of having a laugh, but I think Troy Baker set it up with his, his look at me, I'm a, what was it he called himself?
It was the quote from I can't even remember who it was now. It was like a former US president or a general, some kind of military leader or something. Like it was like, it's the gladiator who has, dust and blood and sweat on their face, like referring to his craft. But I want to say that the thing that it started off, and it basically was like a not necessarily anti-critic message, but the implication was like, the critic can't really say shit because we're the ones in here with the blood in our face.
Yeah.
And didn't he call himself like a, what was it? He had a word because he called his Patreons it or something.
Oh, he's now we're getting into his like personal stick where he's like he's not idea, fucking hell. What is it?
It's killing me now. It was a word.
It was a great word. I'm going to find it. He is.
But it was just like, that whole thing is just kind of like, come on, dude. Like, you're so far up your own arsehole. Like.
I think he might have dropped that stuff because now his Twitter bio just says actor, director, disciple of discourse. But even like disciple of discourse, like who calls himself disciple? And the other thing I want to say that before I forget,
but
thing that was
by the way,
funny,
we love you, Troy Baker. You do good work,
and you're very you're extremely talented. But the thing that made the sort of like slightly over the top quote that he posted funny was that the thing that sparked it all was Jason Schreier around the time of The Last of Us Part 2's launch saying, I think word for word, he just said, video games are long. And that was the tweet, all lowercase. And Troy Baker was like, it's not the critic that gets to do blah, blah. It's the man in the arena with the dust on his and the blood. I was like, okay, come on.
Yeah, how about it's the fucking consumer? Because a game is a consumerist product, you fucking dillhole.
Yeah. I wish I knew what his thing was called.
Oh, I thought it would start with an R. I thought it was like a
Relator?
Relator.
That was
You fucking nailed it. That's what it was.
Relator.
Hey, I'm Troy Baker and I'm a relator.
Yeah.
That thing about like influencers always having to have names for their fans as well.
Hey, Matt Patters. Welcome.
Does he call them Matt Patters?
Game Theory.
Matt Pat from Game Theory. Like Matt Pat was more we'd like to say. I just like to say Matt Pat like that.
Matt Pat. I mean, the thing is that the guy makes entertaining videos, and the amounts of research that goes into them, like fucking amazing. But you know what? I think the thing that we kind of started it with ATG, and we definitely kind of brought an element at least into it to the Super Show, is kind of like people take themselves too fucking seriously, and just fucking calm down. Take a look at yourself and laugh, because it's ridiculous. Life is ridiculous, and we're all ridiculous in our own little way. So just fucking,
unless if you're a relator,
unless you're a
have to
relator,
take yourself seriously.
You can't relate because you're a relator.
He used to do a series of Instagram live streams called "Let's Get Into It." I'd like to think that they're relators only. It doesn't explicitly say so, but I think you kind of need to be a relator to partake in an episode of Let's Get Into It over on Troy Baker's Instagram, where, again, his bio is just, in all caps and with a space between every letter, storyteller.
Oh, so like, like safety dance.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Again, very talented man.
Yes, very good in everything that he does, pretty much.
Probably very nice.
Yeah.
You know,
I've
probably
heard
a
as
nice
much.
fella.
There is a weird thing though that people do get to the point where they get told because they are good. They get told they're good, and they get told all the time, "Oh, you're really good, you know," and then they become the top of an industry or whatever. And then it's almost like if you tell them that they're not, or you laugh at them, I think the correct response is to like take it on the chin and go, you know, they're probably just jealous. They probably just, you know, it's whatever. They're just a normal person. I'm just going to take it as intended. But some people just seem to not be able to take any kind of like taking the piss or whatever.
You just got to be.
I think he's someone who could not take it if you weren't like.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd really be curious to know if he could. Like, I'm not suggesting I want to see someone go up to Troy Baker in any capacity and like start giving him grief out of nowhere and seeing how he responds. But like, I do wonder if he sees the funny side, or if he would be offended by some of the shit we've said in the past. I'm kind of nervous to know.
Yeah, that's it. Fucking hell.
Maybe he would be a little bit offended, to be fair.
I mean,
like I'm looking at his Instagram posts at the start of the pandemic, and I can't. Like, human beings don't talk like this, fellas.
Do you know what's interesting? So I
imagine. Can I just paint a picture for you? Let's say we were planning to do a little get together as the Super Show with some of our fans. We said, "Hey, look, patrons, if you're in town, if you live in London, or you can get to London, let's go for a drink on Friday, the 8th of March, 2020. You know, what could possibly go wrong?" And let's just say, because something happened in March of 2020, we found that we actually needed to cancel that show. And then, Chris, you jump on the Super Show Twitter and you say, to all who are planning on being at the Super Show live show, as well as our meetup in London, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your patience. I promise to return loaded with a double helping of awesome. And then a week later, you say, start a new game, or finish an old one, read a book, or write one, listen to an album you haven't thought about in years, call that person you've been meaning to call, talk, connect. Like, who talks like that?
Do you know who he is? The human.
You played the Joker.
Yeah, he is the human equivalent of the kitten hanging by a branch poster that says "Hang in there."
Hang in there, relators.
You've got this, relators. Hell
All
yeah!
Right,
Isn't he the same as an actor though, who you kind of think, and they think they're their roles? Like, people love them because of the roles they play, but realistically, it's just people like how he sounds. Like, he doesn't actually write any of the stuff.
But also,
do you know what it sounds like? It actually sounds like Garth Marenghi, like author. Right. You know, like author, director, dreamweaver. Like,
I'm a disciple of discourse.
Isn't there something about like when the thing you want to satire is distinguishable from the thing itself, and it just gets to like a ludicrous point where it's like impossible to satire?
Yeah, there's a saying or word for that, isn't there?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Well, he's massively talented, and he's ubiquitous in the industry.
Supremely talented.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on, Troy. Come defend yourself.
And I don't doubt that he's a lovely man.
Yeah.
It's fun to rip him sometimes.
Well, fellas, I think it's only apt that I kind of take this podcast to a close, to an end, by saying that it is well past my bedtime. I am fucking tired. We've given it a good run, 100 episodes. Maybe we should just stop it here. We need 101. End it on a high. You know, it's
101.
It's the George Costanza.
Sam from 101 Facts will tell you that you need one more at least.
Yeah.
I can also tell you that there's a certain provider of male grooming products who would like to see at least a few more episodes before we pull the plug.
Are you talking about Manscaped, where you can get 20% off and free shipping using code SuperShow at manscaped.com?
Maybe. I mean,
Maybe.
is there any other provider of male grooming products that's worth talking about?
None that are worth talking about, and none that are worth your time or your money.
Exactly.
So there we go.
Well, actually, ask us again in a few weeks.
Nah, Manscaped for life. Even if they don't, like, there's a special place in my heart for firsts, you know, and they're our first sponsor. So here we go.
That's true. They are. That's very true. And
Yes.
hey, if you do decide to sign up, your partner will thank you. So there you go.
Hell yeah. All right, fellas. Well, the only thing left to do, as is tradition, is two things, which is one of the things is something that I've actually stopped saying, but we've got to do it. Please, if you are listening on a podcast platform of your choice, do give us 5 stars, because we are a 5-star podcast. And fellas, we need to have a code word to end off 100 fucking episodes.
Ooh.
Damn.
It's
That's
a hard
lot
one.
of
It's a hard
responsibility.
one. Yeah, it's a hard one.
Yeah, there's a lot to encapsulate. I don't even. There's so many angles you could go with, right? We've gone all the way down memory lane tonight.
I've got no idea.
Well, this has been good.
I feel like it. I feel like it should have something to do with the PS4, PS5 controller thing, but I can't think of anything really good that could go with that.
It's a conundrum.
Oh, do you know what it should be?
Go on.
It
Lay it
should
on
probably-
me.
It should probably just be Asa Akira
Fucking
in true Chris fashion.
love it. French kiss
I mean-
all over it.
I would fight it, but then it also just feels stupidly appropriate.
It
That's
feels
where we're
right.
at.
It just feels right, fellas. It just
Yeah.
feels right. So there you go. Code word Asakira down in the comments. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this particular journey of the 100th episode, and you know, for the lead up here too, because episode 1 through to episode 100, I still can't fucking believe that we've done it. And like we said before, we couldn't have done it without your help and your support. So thank you a million times over. Thank you without end. But it's the end now. So goodbye.
It's okay.
No, just
Yeah.
So yeah.
Bye.